we are missing Rachel, and we're missing Tyler. But because of the absence of Rachel Henderson, William, we're going to promote you to a voting member tonight. With that, we'll move on, and Doreen has provided the minutes in your packets. I would entertain a motion for the minutes to be read, and I think I looked at my minutes when I said this is November 17th.
Time
This
by
is
telling
actually
you that there are no
December
records for my investigation.
15th, 2025, not November. So you're all in the right month. Santa Claus comes this month. So with that, I would entertain a motion to enter in November 17th meeting minutes.
Second.
Thank you, Roger. Doreen, would you take the roll?
Rick King,
Yes.
Roger Bailey,
Yes.
Jennifer Ladd,
Yes.
James Hebert,
Yes.
and Will Sedley.
Yes.
Great. Well, we have a very busy meeting tonight, packed agenda, so we're going to get rocking and rolling here. The first item for consideration is Atlantic Resource Consultants on behalf of Dolphin Marketplace LLC is requesting a sketch plan review for proposed expansion, which includes 1,600 square foot small Arby's restaurant located at 183 US Route 1, Assessors Map U45, Lot 4. Helen, you want to give us an overview?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's see, get close. So as you mentioned, this is a sketch plan proposal for a 1,665 square foot Arby's restaurant and drive-through in the TVC district at 183 US Route 1. Drive-throughs are permitted in the TVC district as part of a planned development process, so this is the earliest stage of that process. The planned development process is made up of first a site inventory and analysis phase, a master plan review, and then a site plan review. We have the sketch plan for your reference, and the applicant is available for questions.
Thanks, Helen. And for the applicant?
Thank you. Hi, my name's Tony Panciocco with Atlantic Resource Consultants. As mentioned, here on behalf of Dolphin Marketplace, I also have Steve Breyer here, the owner of Dolphin Marketplace. In case he can, any questions that I can't answer, he might be able to. Basically, you've got the sketch. We're early on in the process. We're in the process of getting someone on board to do the traffic study, and we have some boundary and survey issues to take care of. We just kind of wanted to get this out there and get some feedback from the board if there's any major concerns or questions before we move forward with further along in the process.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, this item is available for public comment. Anybody wishing to make a public comment, please go to the podium and state your name and address.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Madonna Mooney, and I live at 41 Little Dolphin Drive at Jocelyn Place, a 55-plus community with 60 apartments. And I am concerned that adding an Arby's to the Little Dolphin Marketplace will create traffic congestion, making Little Dolphin Drive, Little Dolphin Marketplace, unsafe for the families who use the daycare and for the drivers and pedestrians who drive and walk these roads every day. Many of my fellow tenants and I, excuse me, have found it nearly impossible to get onto Route 1 from Little Dolphin Drive, especially going north, and especially during morning rush hour, lunchtime, and evening rush hour, when there would be a lot of traffic, additional traffic at an Arby's at Little Dolphin Marketplace. In order to get on Route 1 from Jocelyn Place, many of us take the access road to the traffic light at Hannaford Drive. And we're not the only drivers, of course, who have figured this out, and this access road has become a shortcut to Route 1 via Hannaford Drive. With the addition of Arby's, this traffic congestion at the Little Dolphin Marketplace, Little Dolphin Drive, and the access road will only worsen. This will create an even more unsafe situation for pedestrians as well as drivers. And finally, I walk almost daily from Jocelyn Place through the Marketplace parking lot and onto Maple Ave and beyond. And again, the parking lot traffic, especially mornings and afternoons, is very busy. And drivers backing out of spaces in the parking lot or exiting the parking lot from the entrance and exit are not always aware of pedestrians Adding an Arby's would increase this traffic, making it less safe. For these reasons, I hope the Arby's project will not move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good evening.
April Hill, Maple Avenue. I did send written comment, but I just wanted to say I support the residents of Jocelyn Place. And I mentioned I'm very happy with having Little Dolphin as a neighbor. But as a pedestrian, also I do a lot of walking, and I have very serious concerns about what I saw, like with the sketch, where it looks like the traffic is going to be directed right into where the people are coming and going at Little Dolphin, like picking up their children. And so also as someone who walks there a lot, it just seems really dangerous. And I was a big supporter of Jocelyn Place, and I remember, and I was, I watched all the planning board meetings because I'm in a butter. And there was talk about it was like placemaking, I think that's the term, but that, we want it to be pedestrian centric and safe and walkable. And I just feel like this, and it's nothing against Arby's. I've actually never been to an Arby's, but it's just the setup, having a drive through there just seems really counterintuitive and definitely not consistent with keeping it pedestrian friendly. Thank you.
Thanks. You did. Anyone else in the audience? Go ahead, please.
Good evening. My name is Steve Breyer. I'm the executive director of the Little Dolphin School Foundation, and I'm the principal of Dolphin Marketplace. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the last 20 years since we purchased that property. The reason why we purchased the property was that we felt that Scarborough was a fantastic and up-and-coming and growing community for our school. Our school was founded almost 50 years ago by my mom, who was a pioneer in early education. And she had a 3-year-old wild man in 1965. No services, no place. And so she actually left the public system, and she started the first age-specific nursery program in Queens. So fast forward, in 1998, we opened up our flagship campus at the Portland-Westbrook line. Our nonprofit schools have children from 26 countries. We provide about $384,000 worth of tuition assistance every year. It became pretty apparent to us that we weren't getting the grants that we needed, so we thought, take a socially responsible pathway, worked with Harvey at this time at SEDCO, and we came here in 2006. We have a lot of experience with a family group of tenants that are willing to pay rent to support our children and our teachers. And I will tell you that that parking lot has been drastically underutilized for 20 years. When the Egg and I was there, our parking lot was full on Saturdays and Sundays. During the week, it was full about 40% of the time. Back in the day, we were licensed for 110 children because we thought we would do a before and after care program. And although we have over 3,000 alumni now, over 27 years in Maine, we've never had 110 children at the Scarborough campus. So presently, we have approximately 11 or 12 spaces out front for parents. They're never totally utilized. We have pickup around peak time is 5 to 5:30. We typically have 3, 4, or 5 spots that are filled, and then a next group comes in, and they stay for about 5 minutes. By about 5:45, we're done. In the morning, when Stacks is open, we have parents dropping off between 7:30 and 9 o'clock. We have a total of about 44 to 46 children every day at the school. That's not going to be changed. Why has that changed so dramatically? It's the same reason why child cares have closed. About 55% of all child care centers have closed in the state of Maine since 2020. People might think it's COVID. It's not. It's 3, 4, and 5-year-olds that have been taken by the public schools. So we used to have 20 children in a pre-K classroom. We now have 5, 7, 8. Over in the Westbrook School, we used to have 2 pre-K classrooms, 2 kindergarten classrooms. We now have 1 pre-K classroom and 1 kindergarten classroom. So in our model, what we're trying to do is to develop that pad site and take advantage of the fact that the school uses very little real estate there. And I'd be happy to get letters from everybody in the plaza who's behind our foundation. I'd be happy to take pictures for you. But the truth is that parking lot is not very, very full at any time during the day, except for Saturday and Sunday mornings. It's pretty full because of stacks. I worked with the executive director, my counterpart at the South of Portland Housing Authority, to bring Jocelyn Place there. I only had two concerns. One is people smoking around our playgrounds, and the others were people walking a lot of dogs, and not cleaning up. Jocelyn Place has been fantastic. I've had to make one call in 2.5 years. I see one lady every day with a tiny little dog, and I call her our mascot at the Little Dolphin School. But I don't see anybody else from Jocelyn Place, with the exception of one or two people that I've become friends with that pick up Thai food at JoJo's Place. So I understand what these ladies are saying. I don't see it. I haven't seen it in many, many years. And believe me, if there was anything that could put any of our kids in danger, I wouldn't be here talking with you. I will tell you every parent and every child and what spot they're in every night, because I'm there every day. That's my job. Those are my kids. And so I think if anybody has any thing to discuss with me, I'm happy to answer any of their questions about safety, pick up and drop off. We are very vigilant in that parking lot. We waited a long time to develop that pad site, again, in our financial early education model. And we didn't want them there in the morning, so they're not allowed to do breakfast. And we're very protective of all of our other tenants. And Stacks, of course, does breakfast. So they'll be serving somewhere between 11 o'clock and, 9 o'clock at night. Everyone is out of there around 5 o'clock. Little Dolphin finishes up around 5:45. And JoJo's is closed on Sunday. So on the weekends, I'm really not concerned because no one's there. So I think we've always had a great balance of tenants. 3 or 4 of our tenants really don't have walk-in traffic, except for Merritt Pools in the summer. And all the proprietors will be parking out back. As far as the staff, we'll be taking the staff. There's usually 12 to 14 spaces taken up by staff in the front, and we'll have a dedicated parking lot for them in the back. The only thing that I need to add is lighting, because I want everybody to feel comfortable and safe in the wintertime when it's dark out. So can I answer anyone's questions?
Well, there might be some. So glad you're here.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's what I'm here for.
All right. This is still public comment. Anybody else? Anybody online? No. All right. Before I close public comment, I will acknowledge, Ms. Hill, we did receive your public comment and it's entered into the record. We also received public comment from Pamela Fisher and Asa Agua, I believe. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, but those have been received and are in the record. So now I'm going to close public comment and turn this over to the board. Again, this is a sketch plan, so this is just a conceptual idea on what could take place here. And I think there's a lot of ends that need to be connected here, primarily information as it relates to the traffic movement plan. And I appreciate the information that was brought forward by the Dolphin community. That's very helpful as we look at this. But I too am concerned with traffic in this site and the circulation of the traffic, given the drive-through. But we also have a traffic expert on our board, which we're so thankful to have. So anybody want to start off with comments? No, I'm not looking at you on that, Roger. Go ahead, Jen. Thank you.
Okay, I have, I think there's some good points that have been raised both tonight in person and also through some of the the comments that we received. I share the concerns around the safety and friendliness, I will say, of this proposal with the people who walk in this area and also with the adjacent uses within the marketplace. And I appreciate the comments from the owner, which all make a lot of sense. And I think that this type of project makes sense as long as it is under your, or with your context and under your umbrella, because you are, you're owning the entire parcel and this is up to you. But I will say that like this project and all of the others that we look at, I feel a duty to look at this through the eyes of the next 3 iterations of this property and what might happen were this not to be fully under your control. So if a piece of this was sold off, or you had different mix of tenants, or some of those different things. So just a little more broad brushed. And anyway, so those are just some of the things that were going through my mind. I will say that in taking a look at the zoning, the definitions around the zoning here, which is the town village center district, which I think by its definition tries to get at some of the comments that we heard about previously. It refers to things like exhibiting village style development that offer a mix of retail, office, service, civic, and residential uses that combine in an area that are conducive to both pedestrians and motorists. So, I mean, we've heard that clearly, but I think that's really important to take that into consideration, and that it's not just pedestrians walking by or on a walk from Jocelyn Place out to Route 1, but those within the site, and potentially those coming to this new use. And just inherently, a drive-through does not feel conducive to pedestrian activity, in my opinion. So I do have a little bit of conflict there around this use and the zoning as defined. I also think that the same language refers to village scale and character and things like ensuring walkability, human activity, and vibrancy. And so those were just some terms that really stuck out to me when revisiting that language and the site as laid out. We have other areas of town where I think this type of use and this type of layout is probably a no-brainer. I'm not sure that this is it for me. And I feel like how we've defined the zone here kind of reinforces that, in my opinion. So with that, I think I would just really strongly be looking for the next iteration of this, or a plan like this, to really take into account some of those pedestrian and sort of village characteristics that we have identified this area to include.
Thanks, Jen. Roger?
Okay, thank you. I would agree with the speakers, the public's comments regarding trying to get out of Little Dolphin. Because I go to the pick up ink cartridges there at the facility that's over there. And but it's no different really than trying to get out onto Route 1 from any other location in that general area. It's a challenge.
Unless there's a light, then
Right.
you're right. Anywhere else is exactly the same.
I can sympathize with them. I think this is, unfortunately, this is what we're going to be dealing with along Route 1. Almost any place on Route 1, we're going to, this is a problem. I have a question regarding the location, and one of the comments regarding Mr. Breyer, maybe you could come up and answer this question. There was a concern about children getting left off, coming out of school and picked up and everything. Now, I assume that they come out of the main door.
Yeah, so they come in through the front, they come out through the front. And the spaces that are utilized for pickup and drop off are near the front door. And there's a sidewalk there. So typically, they'll either have a child in their hands or by hand,
Yeah.
and they'll walk on the sidewalk and they'll go into the car. And so at any one time, if you gave me a particular time of day and night, I could tell you exactly how many cars will be there. But they all seem to work out very well because we don't have that many children there anymore on a daily basis. But it's the furthest away from Little Dolphin Drive and Route 1. So there's no other activity except from that front door.
Do the kids all get out at the same time?
No, so what I'm saying is, well, first of all, I'm assuming everybody knows what we do. So what we do is early education. So we have, between the two schools, we have the largest infant program north of Boston. As you know, infant care is very difficult to come by and it's very, very expensive. So what we've tried to do is meet the needs of the community. So we actually have 4 age-specific baby rooms in Scarborough and 5 in the Westbrook Portland campus. And so any day between 7:30 and 9, kids are dropped off according to their parents' schedule, right? When they go to work. And then they're picked up, unless they're going to a doctor's appointment at 2 or 3 o'clock. And then they're picked up typically around starting at 4 o'clock, they dribble out. And I would say the peak time is probably somewhere between 4:45 and 5:15. So Tony and I were walking outside tonight, it was 5:20, and there were 2 cars there getting little ones. So it's pretty much drips and drabs, if that answers your question.
Sure, yeah, it does. Because for instance, at one of our public schools, a lot of the kids that come out all at one time, and so.
No, that's Al-Qaeda training in Maine,
Yeah.
if that happened in our school.
Let's see, so the other thing on the location, and I assume you're gonna, take a look at the peer reviews comments regarding the detention pond and everything.
Yeah,
Make
we've
sure-
already reviewed whatever you've given us.
Yeah, I think the other thing is I'm pretty sure we're gonna require you to have some sort of robust buffering along Route 1.
Right.
So, because we don't like to see cars.
Yes, the ladies told us that, we've had 2 pre-planning board meetings.
Yeah.
And the ladies told us that, so we know what's expected of us.
Unless you want to go underground, below ground level like Walgreens.
No, I don't have their money.
All right.
But I would like to answer, if I might, answer 1 or 2 of the questions that popped up just before. We had the land in the back. We tried for 15 years to get Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. We were unsuccessful. We sold that land and we had the Risbara boys widen that road and extend it to Hannaford Drive so that it would be easier for all of us to get onto Route 1 because it was a lighted intersection there. We know that MDOT calls those shots. And I remember, hoping that at some point they would give us a light, but they didn't. So they put in the sidewalks, they stubbed the utilities on Little Dolphin Drive and Route 1, and they widened that road to the accessory road so that people, including myself, can go to that lighted interchange. So that was done in 2018 and 2019. We wanted to make it pedestrian friendly. We didn't know at the time whether Jocelyn Place was coming, but we wanted it to be pedestrian friendly for everybody. And Jennifer, can I answer your question about the next iteration of the property? Because it's a really interesting point. Our schools are 501c3s. We're nonprofit organizations. So if I were to retire, those schools would have to be turned over to another nonprofit that specialized in education. So really, I can tell you that that mix of family-friendly businesses with schools, you're really limited. That's really what it would have to be. Of course, if I was 20 or 30 years younger, I might be here asking for something on top to be built up top, but we'd have to get more parking. So I appreciate you asking that. It's something that's been in my mind since I've owned it since 2006. And I don't know if you folks remember what that building looked like before we built it in 2006, because it had bingo there. That was it.
Yeah.
So when they changed the smoking ordinance, there was no tenants there except for merit pools, and it looked like heck. So our schools were beautiful, so we made it all Class A space.
Okay, another question on the way you envision the drive-through. Will the vehicles be leaving the drive-through and then going right in front of your main entrance to get out?
I think Tony could answer
Okay.
that for spacing wise.
Or are you planning to rearrange the parking lot to accommodate?
Well, I think the short answer is it has to be rearranged.
Yeah.
And all those teacher spots have to be moved to the back so that the drive-through has areas. And of course, there has to be area for a fire truck and ambulance to get through.
Yeah.
You know, one thing we were thinking about earlier was making that, as you're coming through the drive-through, making it left turn only, so you go back through the parking lot and not out in front of Little Dolphin. Of course, you could sign it. It's no guarantee everyone's gonna actually follow the sign, but I think a majority of people would probably do that. We certainly don't wanna extend that center aisle all the way to the building and block it off.
Right.
Because then now you're preventing people from looping through, and you'd also hinder any type of emergency vehicle, whether it be a fire engine or ambulance, to get in there and around and out.
Yeah, the problem, you're gonna have vehicles coming in and doing an immediate right to get through the drive-through. And so I think you gotta try and figure out how to do that to avoid,
Well, we could, configure that center island so that maybe you have a separate entrance into the drive-through coming in, but then use the existing going out.
I think that's gonna be one of the issues you're gonna have to address. And now I guess the other thing is you also want to try and get the town to approve the road, become a public roadway, right?
Yes, in some of our earlier meetings, the town asked us to petition that to become a public road.
Okay.
So we've incorporated that into the application, and I believe that was, Angela, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was kind of a plowing issue, wasn't it?
Okay, so there would basically be sidewalks all the way around right to Foley Road.
Well, there already are sidewalks on Little Dolphin Drive and on Route 1
Okay,
surrounding that whole property.
yeah, okay,
So,
all right.
yes, those will be maintained for sure.
So I guess I'll just finish by saying that, I understand the concerns about trying to exit out onto Route 1, especially if you're heading north. And the concerns about any potential conflicts with the children. So if you can somehow redesign that parking area, that's going to be helpful. And I don't think I have anything else at this point.
Thank you, Roger. James?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I do have a question for you, Anthony, in a second. But for me, speaking to the board right now, my concerns with this is the exit lane from the proposed RVs that leak out right in front of the daycare space there. So I have a 4 and a 6-year-old. I picked them up at a daycare center, not unlike this one. And whenever you're trying to put one kid in the car, another one might be sort of running away, as they all typically do. Again, this is just my own personal experience that I'm sharing here, but this sort of brought this up when I was thinking about it. Kid runs out and back of the truck, back of the car to get to the other side because they want to open the door themselves, even though they can't open the door because they're not strong enough yet. But that moment when they run back there, people are leaving. And at my particular daycare I go to, people cycle through every couple of years. They're there for a couple of years. They cycle out. New people come in, and not everybody is aware of the rules and how things go. And there's always that there's always that moment or time period of like getting used to of like, this is our new routine now. So 2, sometimes 3 times a year, we get an email from our daycare that says, hey, do not speed in the parking lot, keep it below 5 miles an hour sort of thing. And then thinking about it here, if we have people in Arby's, if they're, of course, you're not gonna have people there at 10 o'clock at night leaving the school. But if you're trying to get like a meal to bring home quick or something like that, they may not think to, keep it slow going in front of the daycare school there. What I would like to see is if Arby's is to work here, for me to be satisfied with voting in support of this, I would want to see the restaurant and the stormwater landscaping area swapped. And that's the question I want to ask you, Tony, is is it possible in the site orientation here to keep the Arby's as far away from that building as possible? And the way I see that, the only way you could do that is you swap the stormwater landscaping area with the restaurant, and you just make the cars go tight right around the building in the same way that they came in. Because for me, like, even the possibility of people dumping out in there, we would be requiring do not enter signs and lots of signage with big arrows pointing people out. But, talk to me about moving that building and swapping that area.
Yeah, we've looked at, numerous layouts. One of the issues with sliding that building to plan left was getting enough queue distance without backing it out onto Little Dolphin Drive. And excuse me, that was a big concern when we had our pre-development meetings was, we can't be backing out the exit, the entrance to Little Dolphin Drive. In fact, we're closing off the lower entrance to do that so that cars can't go in and out too close to Route 1. We could rotate it and see if we could get a loop to work all the way through there. I just think we're going to end up losing a lot more parking as well.
Yeah, what about a dual lane pickup? So I know the Chick-fil-A at the Rock Road place, they have like multiple drive-through lanes. Could you make, do you really need the bypass lane? And could you make both of those as dual drive-through? And that would be able to shorten your queue.
That's probably a question we'd have to ask Arby's,
Yeah,
because this is their prototype. So,
sure.
but yeah, I guess that would eliminate the bypass. But then if you have both lanes full and someone can't get out of it either.
No, that's true. But I mean, if they're stuck, they're allowed to buy something to get out. So it's a win-win for
Hold
them.
hostage.
Exactly. But aside from the queuing, that'd be my solution for that, is to just do a dual lane queue there. But for me, I really want to try to see some iteration of this with that building in the corner. I know it's been a past stance on this board as well to have businesses as close to the curb as possible, to be sort of street side facing. I know Rachel's also a big supporter of that, proponent of that as well. So having business near the street so that people can see it. But those are my big comments right now. For right now, I hard time seeing the exit on that side. And that's where I'm at, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, James,
Thanks, James.
can I say one thing? You know what might make sense, James, is to slide.
Well, can I ask that,
Oh, I'm sorry.
we're presenting you our ideas and everything, and you can come back to us if you want to
If I
pursue
remember.
this,
If I
instead of
remember
trying to
what-
do a redesign here and come up with some scenarios.
I'll
Let's,
try to remember, okay.
no problem. You all set, James?
I am. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
William?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm also struggling with this one here. And I think I have a 9-month-old and also do daycare drop off, and I'm imagining a 9-month-old at daycare drop off trying to get the stroller in and out of the car with people, food in hands, excited to eat some Arby's after picking it up, and that interaction doesn't really jive for me. I do wonder if there is a possibility of not moving the staff parking to the back and having the back be a dedicated drop-off pickup area, removing the interactions between the children and the Arby's exit altogether. I am struggling to see how this parking lot, as proposed now, would work. This is a sketch plan, so I do look forward to seeing more, but I'm a pretty creative fellow, and I just can't see this traffic going safely with children in that same parking lot right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, William. I think you heard loud and clear that traffic movement in this site is of particular interest to this board, and the safety and the ability to handle the volume. And I know it's a sporadic volume. These fast foods have their peak and then they have their non-peak. But I think you got a sense of where we're coming from. I think there's a lot to be told when you start to do your traffic movement plan and you get that seal of approval. And we look forward to you coming back with those considerations in mind. Is there any questions you have of us before we send you back?
I do not know. Steve, any questions?
We're already half an hour on this.
What I was beginning to say, what James said, is that it might make sense to slide the.
Again, we're not going to redesign it here tonight, sir. Okay, if you think there's something that can make sense, bring it back to the board and we'll take a
So
look
then
at
my
it.
question to William is, if it's impossible.
No, your questions come to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
So my question is, if it's impossible to flip the entrance from front to back, since there's an entrance in the front and there are 3 playgrounds in the back, then is it possible to come back with an alternative way of children entering in the front?
certainly you can do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All set?
All set, thank you.
All right, thank you. You all set? Ron? Is there anything burning? Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to 4.02, Scarborough Community Services is requesting an advisory opinion to consider approval for the installation of a Musco lighting system at Peterson Field, 138 Old Blue Point Road, Assessors Map R68, Lot 2. Helen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you mentioned, this is a Scarborough Community Services project proposing a lighting system for Peterson Field, which is at 138 Old Blue Point Road. The proposal includes 4 70-foot galvanized steel poles, and they're also proposed with the timing system in place, so no inning would start after 9 p.m. per the ordinance requirements, which we've highlighted for you. Basically, the review requirements for an outdoor field in terms of, or an outdoor recreation facility in terms of lighting includes full cutoff to limit spillage of the lighting. I'm sure that's a technical term for the lighting engineers on the board. All events also should be timed to limit lighting after certain hours. And this is actually proposed a bit earlier than the ordinance requires. And then the maximum height permitted is to be determined during the site plan process as approved by the planning board. And we have some visuals, and the applicant is available for questions.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you. My name is Nick Klisch. I'm the Community Services Director here for the town. With me here tonight is Alan Grady. He's Musco Lighting Rep, our chosen vendor, alongside 2 board members from Scarborough Little League, as this is a joint partnership that we're putting together for a project. You know, our goal here is simple. We don't have enough fields in this town to support the growth that we've had and the amount of participation rates that we continue to have and to continue to raise. I think it is important to talk a little bit of background that got us to this point from a timeline standpoint, because I know folks have inquired about what got us there. So in the budgetary process this year, Scarborough Little League approached the town to try to support this project. Ultimately, it was decided that the town would give $75,000 in capital improvement funds to be matched by Scarborough Little League with an additional $75,000 for a total of $150,000 investment. So in late July, early August, we started to vet lighting companies. The original proposal that Scarborough Little League got a quote from was a company that we just didn't see as a matched vendor when it ultimately came down to it. It was a lower product light product, and Musco is the standard in lighting in sports fields. So after we vetted those lighting options, September 30th, we went out to our first intent to bid. We received 3 bids. They came back $140,000 over the $150,000 that we had for an investment. So that kind of slowed the process down. Then the town, along with Little League, put together an MOU for Scarborough Little League to raise additional funding to make sure that this project, if it were to move forward, there would be no further investment from the town side. It would come from Scarborough Little League. So after that, on November 10th, we did go back out to bid simultaneously as that was going on, and we got a lot lower prices. It came down to about $179,000, which we felt was within the realm of making it happen. And Scarborough Little League felt that they could make the additional $29,000 investment if we move forward with that bid. So that drove the next steps of that process. We immediately put out a public meeting notice for a community meeting on November 19th. And simultaneously submitted an action to the planning board. And then we had that community meeting last week. So I just want to give a little update of that meeting itself. 9 people were in attendance. We gave background, project goals. We handed out some frequently asked questions to them. There was concern even leading up to the meeting from a few folks. They just wanted more information. So we tried to give them enough information of what we felt the impact would be to neighborhood and abutters. Along with that, we had a presentation by Alan from Musco that was the zero grid document that you have as part of your documents tonight. And then we had a conversation and discussion and questions. Some of the concerns that were brought up was the process not being involved earlier. I think our timeline kind of shows why the process was delayed a little bit. Why Peterson? Why not somewhere else? Why not another neighborhood park? What I will say about the choice of Peterson is we only have 3 fields in town that support 8 to 12-year-old baseball at that level with the size dimensions. One of them is not a town-owned facility. That's St. Max that they are able to use on a consistent basis. So that gave us two places to install lights at. The other concerns were diminished property values, concerned over some ordinances in terms of light and noise that I'm sure we'll address tonight. And then, you build it, they come. Other external users wanting to utilize the field, which I feel like we, as community services, we can certainly control from a scheduling standpoint. And then there was a lot of general discussion about parking. And that facility can be really busy, whether it's Little League, soccer, and there's a lot of parking issues on the actual Old Blue Point Road. So we, but those predicate the actual installation of lights. So what I will say is just to give a brief update following the meeting. I've been working really hard with Musco and also with Little League to try to limit these concerns. So we're looking at possibility of reduction of any of the spill and light glare. And by doing so, I think Alan could probably speak a little more educational than I could. Reducing wattage from 1,200 down to 900 in some of these fixtures. Looking at additional shields, while also still trying to meet Little League light standards, because that's a premise of this conversation. Even with that FC, the foot candle, we're at a very low light spillage in the immediate areas. And I also want to note that it doesn't take into effect any tree covering with the numbers in the FC. And again, Alan could speak a little deeper on that. In addition to talk about light, or talk about noise, we worked with Scarborough Little League. We will not be starting an inning after 9 p.m. The local ordinance says you can play after 10:30 p.m. We're trying to be good neighbors and get off the field as fast as we possibly can. The extension of adding lights here is really 1 to 1.5 hours of optimal usage during the time frame, basically from the end of April to mid-July. So we feel like it's a finite amount of time that we'll actually be utilizing those lights to make sure our kids get as many games in as possible. I can't holistically speak to the parking piece. I think that's a much longer, bigger conversation townwide of what we can do to expand parking at that facility. But what I will say is installing lights there is not changing the parking issue that is already currently there. And, overall, our intention is to be good neighbors, to try to meet the needs of the community as a whole and work through any issues that might come up.
Thanks, Nick. This item is available for public comment. Anyone wishing to make a comment, please step to the podium. Just your name and address as you get up there.
Mike Mayo, I think, I live at 5 Burnham Woods Circle in Scarborough. You saw some of my public comments that were entered in the record. For me, since you've already seen all that, I don't think the project meets the existing standards. The statement that we're gonna be out of there by 10:30, the noise ordinance is 9 o'clock. The sound of a PA system and people cheering, the back corner of my lot's 50 feet from the foul pole there. And it's not a little bit of noise. I mean, and so good neighbor ordinance for that. For lighting, the charts they showed me, we aren't hitting any of the numbers that you would have to, either in lighting standards or the good neighbor ordinance. That park's probably been there 40 years, dawn to dusk. I think it's similar to every park in Scarborough. We have no other lighted fields other than at the school complex where there are no residential neighborhoods. We're not backed up to a housing development that has 26 homes in it. We're in the fields over here by the school. For me, there's a big difference. And I just, I'm a little amazed that we reached the point of approving money for something that doesn't even meet the town ordinances that we have and really doesn't fit with our comprehensive plan that says we're going to protect the marsh, which this is near, and we're going to take care of existing neighborhoods, which this doesn't. So, I've lived in my house 35 years. I've been there. The sounds during the day of children playing baseball out there are happy noises. I actually coached for community services here. I was a soccer coach. I was a basketball coach. My kids are 40 now, and the other problem I have with this is Little League, the guys that are sitting here are going to have children at age out. They aren't going to be here. They're making a lot of promises about what they're going to do to take care of this. Those guys aren't going to be there. So those are the only other additional comments I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else? Anyone online?
Yes.
We'll take the one on, and then we'll take you next.
Jay Wallace.
Jay Wallace?
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, great. This is Joanna Wallace. I also live on Burnham Woods Circle. I attended the meeting on Thursday, and I think they did a really nice job of doing a thoughtful design, but I'll agree with Mike that I do have concerns about the levels of lights that's going to be going into some of my neighbors' yards. I won't be impacted by the lights directly, but because the borders are not included on the maps that were provided, it's very difficult to confirm that the level of foot candles at the property lines are going to be met appropriately. And I did hear Nick say that they're looking at addressing some of that, which I'm happy to hear. I too will agree that during the day, the Little League noises are great noises. All of the playing at the fields are great. For me, where I live, it sounds a little bit like the Peanuts character. Every time somebody's up to bat. That's a little less pleasing, but my kids play Little League. I get it. That's okay. It would be different for me having that at night, especially with a lot of the kids in the neighborhood here, and people go to bed early. Uh, the parking concern is a real concern. The parking lot, the way that it's designed currently, and I know that's not really what we're here to address or the topic, but it's important to know that people can't park in those parking spaces that are closest to Peterson 1 because foul balls go that way and will hit your vehicle. So all of those parking spaces don't get used. So in reality, it's about 50 parking spaces that are available in that parking lot, meaning people park on the streets. And it's going to be dark at that point, and the lights don't go out into the street on Blue Point. And I do have real concerns about somebody getting hurt. When it's dark out, and getting hit. The other concern that I have is about non-Little League usage. I do hear the assurances that were given, but again, people will change, and unless there's something in writing limiting uh, who can use those fields and when those fields will be used and when the lights will be off, I do have concerns about that. Uh, I'll I'll also add, because I think it's important to note too, that I know my understanding is that the kids are traveling out of town for some games and practices. And sure, that's not very convenient, but it sounds like there are neighboring towns that we can borrow fields from. And because there are so few girls' teams, the girls often are traveling out of town for games. So I just want to point that out as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Bozick. I live at 18 Cloverleaf Lane, and I'm the current president of Scarborough Little League. There's a lot of information I think that was sent to you, so I don't want to rehash all of that for you. But I'd say Little League itself has been around for 50 years in Scarborough, probably a little bit more than that. And we do have every intention of being a good neighbor. So we've thought long and hard going through this process. And I've worked with the town actually for a few years on overall improvements at Peterson to meet the demands for the kids. Um, there is a little bit of difference between the boys side of Little League and the girls that play softball as well. The girls, as the commenter was just discussing, it's a smaller division. They, all of the towns around us are in the same position, that we're essentially like the girls, if they were playing games, they would play with each other every night of the week because there's so few teams compared to the boys. And just about every town is in that same position. That's why we've got in District 6 this kind of travel, or where they have to go to different towns. We aren't able to borrow fields at other towns. We did have to rent, which is maybe what they were referencing. Last season, we had to rent a field in Old Orchard Beach to meet the demand. So we were sending 2 Scarborough teams out, well, 4 total, one night a week, to play on a different town's field. And to actually be able to get in all the games that we have to, because it is a very, very short 5 to 6 week season that we have to get all of our games in. And then I'd say the last part here is, Alan can go through the lighting design and such, but we've thought proactively, like we realize that there are abutters, and we're going to put in place rules for the league to follow, where we're not starting new innings after 9 o'clock so that we can get out of there. So we're not generating lots of noise. We definitely understand about PA system. So, more than happy after 9 o'clock to not have that be used if that's needed by the community. So we're definitely open-minded to talking through and resolving some of these challenges to make sure that we're good neighbors. And we do want, for our organization, I guess the last thing I would say too is, like, long-term, we are a nonprofit that's been chartered, for decades at this point. To do that, we have to have a strong continuity model. So I won't be here in my position 5 years from now or 10 years from now, but other parents that do care about the league and want to keep the league in its relationship with Scarborough and its neighbors, they will be there. So I'd say that what we're setting up now, we're talking about 8 to 12-year-old kids, and there is no world where we're going to be asking them to play baseball at 10:30 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night. So that 9 o'clock cutoff, right? Their kids, they go to school. I wouldn't want my kids to play that late. So that's not going to be something that the Little League puts forward. So that's just in general my comments. We do have another board meeting I have to go to that we're hosting. So I just want to thank everybody for their time tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dennis Meehan, 28 Jimco Mill Road. I'm the immediate past president of Scarborough Little League. I've been on the board since my son was 5 years old. He's 12 now, going to 13. So I just want to give a little background when they're talking about the process, what's been going on. Since I've joined the board, Little League has grown exponentially, softball and baseball. We have almost 600 kids that participate, mostly between the ages of 4 and 12. And then we also run a middle school 13-14 program for boys baseball. We don't quite have the interest on the softball side for that yet. The difference being baseball fields, when you hit 7th grade, you go to a 90-foot diamond, 60-foot mound. So we can't play games for baseball on the high school fields or the middle school fields. They're too big. On a softball side, it's the same dimensions from 4 years old to professional softball, all the way up through college, every level. So for years, we've been able to utilize the school fields, JV and varsity softball fields with lights to provide that as an opportunity for our girls to play on. We don't have enough fields to play in town. And the opportunity to give them a chance to play under the lights, because playing under the lights is fun. I remember when I was a kid, that was the big, there was one team in my little league, Dambroscotta, had lights. Everybody got a game under the lights during the year because they rotated around. Most of the neighboring towns do have lighted fields, but we don't have them. So that's why when Brian was saying, we've been lucky the last 2 years that Cape Elizabeth allowed us one night a week to send 2 teams down to play, one game at 5, one game at 7. This past year, we also rented Old Orchards fields. 2 Scarborough teams played at 5, 2 Scarborough teams at 7. So we were sending 6 games a week out of town. The process going back to field improvements actually started before COVID. So we'd been working with the previous community services director for years on upgrades and improvements. Lights has always been a possibility, as well as also finding more fields. Unfortunately, we have less fields now than we did pre-COVID. We don't have use of Blue Point School. There were other practice fields in the area we don't have. And all of the fields in town, except for St. Max, which we rent from the church, and Peterson 1, are multi-use fields. So at Wiley Park, it's used by football, lacrosse, and other programs. We can't put a permanent mound in there. For Peterson 2 softball and Peterson 3 in the backfield, you can't put permanent mounds in some of those spaces, and they don't have fences. So there's really only 2 fields in town that are adequate for full majors, 11, 12-year-old baseball, which can have those opportunities. So with the Peterson complex, we've done improvements, including batting cages, all the new dugouts that we've done over the last few years. We did improvements already to improve the surfaces, they drain better, so that when it rained, we wouldn't have the problems. But even with that, this past year, if you saw the news, the Gorham Little League team did not get the required games in. And after they won District 6, they went to the state tournament in Chias and were thrown out because they didn't play 12 games in the allotted time they had, because they couldn't get the games in because of the weather. And the reality is that we're in Maine. The rest of Little League plays all their games before we even start, and they're ready to go. We're at the end of the rope. So we really don't play games until after April vacation. And we have to have teams chartered for All-Stars by usually around June 5th. And then they start the girls tournament the next Friday, and the boys usually start around the 18th to the 20th. We obviously heard some of the concerns, so we're more than happy. We've talked about limiting the PA. So the way all Little League games, 2 hours is the time limit. So you can't start a game after 9 o'clock. So if at 8:45 you're running, you've got a whole other inning to play, the coaches often get together and decide, can we play another inning of baseball or not? And they don't start games after 2 hours anyway. So we would obviously keep that in place. The whole idea being that if we went past 9 o'clock, we'd be just to finish the inning. And then at that point, we can reduce the power on the lights down, because we can reduce the lights and go to 75, 50, or 25%. So once the teams are able to leave the field, you can go down to that. So if coaches have to rake the fields after things, you can do that in diminished lighting. You also have the ability to, we're just gonna, we can turn off the PA, so we can make a timeline at 8:45. There's no more music or PA for the rest of the game. For the parking concerns, there are parking concerns, but there's only going to be one game on one field played at night. So even if we have a turnover problem where there's other fields or other games going on when the 7 o'clock game would start, we could obviously make an announcement at one point to parents to say, hey, you need to go out to the parking lot and move your car into the parking lot when the other games are done. So we have no problems, past say 8 o'clock, where all the cars should be parked in the parking lot if they weren't there beforehand. So just, in closing, it is a project that has been worked on for a long time. I know some of these things came forward this past year in this past year's budget, but we've been on a 4 or 5 year plan of making stadium improvements. We just, unfortunately, there are other places and there's no other fields in town, nor is there anything on the agenda to come up with new field space immediately that we could eminently get restore, recover, and have ready to play, let alone this season, probably in the next 2 or 3 seasons.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Go ahead.
Makes me nervous.
Don't be nervous. We don't bite.
So I think there's only
Your name and address?
Linda Mayo, 5 Burnham Woods. So there aren't many lighted fields. They're not playing on lighted fields. The fields they rent, those aren't lighted. There's only one in this that he's done over in Cumberland, right? It's a lighted field.
Comments to us, not to the
Oh,
audience?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
So my thing is, pretend it's not Little League. Just pretend they're very nice people. They care about their kids. Pretend it's just somebody making a lot of noise so that you have to sleep with your window shut. You can't sit on your deck. The noise, it's the PA, but the kids also cheer, which is great during the day. It's really fun. So it changes my whole way of life, and it changes the neighbor on this side and the neighbor on this side and over there and over there, which would have been easier to discuss at the beginning of this process instead of that. So that's my thing. It's just changing the neighborhood. And I read the comprehensive plan, the goals, and it doesn't seem to meet the goals. It seems like we're supposed to be together working on these things, not, sorry, you can't sleep with your windows open. We don't care if there's mosquitoes and bats and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to continue on. I don't know when this gets decided.
Well, this is only an advisory, so
Okay, so you're advising them how to go forward.
yes.
So you might say, perhaps you'd like to work with the Audubon Society.
We'll do our advisement once public comment is over.
All right, yeah, and it also decreases the value of my house, which we plan to live there kind of forever. Like we built our house with the downstairs bedroom. We didn't plan to move. And when we moved there, we knew there was a field there, and it's dusk to dawn, which we have 3 kids. And I drove my kids all over everywhere, so I know what that's like. But I also think if you read the proposal that was given, I think it's 10:30, and it might go later if there's special events in the the application.
Okay.
Check the application. It's a little different than what they're telling you right now. So that's just it's a lot of noise for little neighborhoods. But it's I know it's 500 kids, and I know it's very important. But there's 24,000 people in Scarborough, and that's a lot of money for an extra hour of play, I think. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Alan Grady. I'm with Musco. Just want to touch base. I think you all have
This is public comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, all right,
You just don't know the.
all right, well, I opened the public comment. It could have come before us. I'll give you 3 minutes.
Okay. I'll be quick. I think you all received the design, so just kind of explaining that. Those light levels do need to reach Little League playing standards. So the reason why there's 50-foot candles of light on the infield, 30-foot candles of light on the outfield, that is designed by Little League, so it's the safest, most playable for them. The other thing that the system does have is control. So I don't know if they touched on it, but the ability to control those lights on and off remotely from an app, they are able to do that as well. If you've seen our system is Kennebunk, Gorham. She did mention Cumberland. That's a football field, but there are other lights around here that are not ours. Ours look a little bit unique. They're rectangular, aimed down to put the light where it's supposed to go. So, thank you.
Thank you. And we just messed up the order. We should have had you up there right after Nick. Anyone else? All set online? Okay. Closing public comment, and again, board, this is an advisory. It likely won't come back to us, but we can give some direction for staff. From my standpoint, we have a lighting expert on the board, so we're fortunate with that. So I'm going to immediately look to you, James. Do you have any
Sure.
advice you can?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess the only comments I would have as this proceeds further, on the photometric plan, update your background to show the property lines of the adjacent property owners so that we can see that, I mean, it appears that you are within the boundaries of the property here where you meet your 0-foot candle level, or FC, that was referred to earlier. But just to confirm that, there is no lighting trespass across the border. You can get that through the GIS and the tax map. As far as having lights in general on the field, one question I have actually for you, sir, the former president, could you tell me when the prime season finishes at the microphone? Like what month do you start and what month do you end?
So regular league season, if we're lucky, we can get out the week before April vacation, but we haven't been able to in the last 5 or 6 years. So it's usually the week after April vacation, which is the fourth weekish of April. And our regular season is usually done before All Stars start. So for the girls, it's done by around June 10th, and the boys, it's done by around June 17th. So it's about, this year was only a 5-week season with Memorial Day in the middle of it. Some years it's 6 weeks based on where it falls.
Okay.
In transparency, we run a much scaled down summer program. And that's usually, like last year, we had 13 majors and AAA teams. I think for summer we had 4. So we do use the fields between St. Max and that for those summer games, but summer already has later daylight, and we have so few teams, we don't have to play later
Gotcha.
games.
Great, thank you. So my point on this was that time of year, the sun sets at 8:25 p.m. on the longest day in June. So you already have a lot of daylight at nighttime at that point. So the lights wouldn't be on for a really prolonged period of time. It's not like they're turning the lights on now, where it would be such a real stark difference if they were turned on at this time of year. So I'm not opposed to having the lit field. I think that's fine. I think the only question or the only thing they need to work on is, or rather come to an agreement to, is the timing. And there's the good neighbor ordinance, and then there's also the chapter 616 out for outdoor recreation facilities that also states a certain time frame, but and the time frame on the lighting ordinance says 10:30 p.m. is practical. However, due to the density of this area where all the neighbors are located in, and also what the Little League is proposing, I think having the activities, if you want, and maybe some advice on the board on this one, but have the activities conclude by 9 o'clock and the lights shut off by 9:30. What might be during weekdays and on weekends for the ordinance, their activities are ceased by 9:30 and then the lights are shut off by 10.
No, that's on the record, and that can be something Nick and your team work out.
Something to talk about anyways,
Yep.
but I think that gives the best of both worlds, at least for both people involved, where you're not gonna have your lights turned on late at night. We do need more services like these available to us in town as far as places and activities for us to go to. We did similarly at the Portland Rugby Field. We stipulated time of working hours for what those lights are and a certain time for those lights are to be shut off. So I think this is very similar to that. That's all I have.
Thanks, James. Anyone else have any, William?
Yeah, I think the piece that I'm struggling with and just, I guess, want to opine aloud about is the expansion of use. Is you all are a really wonderful, reputable organization. You've got your spring season. There's a limited fall season. And this becomes a public amenity that's available for permitting on the Scarborough Community Service website. And when it becomes something that's not you, knowing that somebody in town can call you and say, what's going on here? Why is the light on? Becomes, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but Casco Bay Sports comes in, they need an expansion, and suddenly it's a group of 25-year-olds on a fall, September evening, drinking beers in the parking lot afterwards. And I think what I would look for in this is restrictions on this to youth sports, if that is permissible, under Scarborough Community Services. I think I liked the I think partnering with Maine Audubon is always a wonderful idea, just to make sure that you've talked to them, especially with spring being a really vulnerable season for habitat as they come back into the state and come alive again. So, but I think the thing that worries me more than anything else is not the Little League and the parents that are so rooted in community here. It's this as a public amenity in the town. And that I think just losing the ability to make sure that we are following the good neighbor ordinance. And Nick, that is in no way a reflection of the great work done by Scarborough Community Services. I think it's just a matter of once permits start being issued and then you're trying to get somebody on the phone at 10 o'clock at night, every minute counts. And every minute that a neighbor is experiencing that while you're trying to get somebody on the phone sucks for that neighbor. And that's just what I want a solution to that is agreeable to all parties.
Thanks, William. Roger?
Thank you. Basically, excuse me, I support this because I think it gives you the flexibility that you need to try and run your operation, run the Little League. I've had kind of an interesting experience the last 2 years because I've gone as a spectator to both St. Max and down to Peterson. And I've in the evening games, they start at 6, and you said, I think they said they limit the games to 2 hours, right? So that's 8 o'clock right there. And now some may go over that.
5 and 7. You can change it to 5 and 7. So we can play 2 games.
Oh, 2 games. Oh, okay.
Roger, we're just kind of giving an
No, yeah.
advisory here.
Okay, all
We
right.
don't, it's really on to community services and their management.
Okay, all right. So basically, I was gonna say on the parking, I don't think that's a big problem because every time I've been down there, there's been no problem with the parking. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of people other than the parents and maybe grandparents who go to the games, so I don't see that as a big problem. And we do have a problem with fields in this town. So I'm supportive of this. I feel confident that you work it out with your neighbors and make sure that you're not infringing upon, them that much. So I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get scolded again.
Oh, I'm not scolding you. You're my friend. Thanks, Roger. Jen?
Just really quickly, thanks for bringing this forward to the board. I echo what others have said and think that this would be a great amenity to our youth sports programs, as long as we can do it in a way that's collaborative with our neighbors. And I would just ask for maybe 2 things to be given consideration. Actually, it's one thing in 2 different areas, but because this facility has not been used traditionally at night, and I understand that you're putting in the 4 light poles to specifically light the field, but I think as someone else mentioned, I'm curious about lighting and sort of safe lighting levels elsewhere on the facility. So if there's perhaps the opportunity to add additional wall pack lighting or something like that to the buildings that are there that would be used, and this would potentially allow people to, after a game when those big lights are dimmed, you'd be able to navigate out a little bit more safely in the parking lot. And perhaps also coordinate with the town to see if, I know I was just looking at the map, there is a utility pole that's right opposite the entrance to this parking lot, and to see if an additional street light overhead there might make sense and help in some of those dark situations. I think the road is curved anyway, so it's potentially, could be helpful for everyone, even if you weren't accessing this facility. But just some of those other lighting, in areas that might not be covered as well by the field lights themselves. And other than that, that's all I have.
Thanks, Jen. Just checking in with Autumn. Do you have any needs from us?
No, I think that should work, and I'll work with Nick to make sure he has everything from you all.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just make a final comment as we wrap this one up. I got my start umpiring Little League baseball. 27 years later, I'm doing some college games, and I was a really bad baseball player. That's why I became an umpire. Um, it's just, to me, having a baseball field lit up at night means we have a community that's working well. We have kids that are not on the street. We have kids playing sports, and we have families getting together. That's what it's all about. Nick, your team does have a little bit of work to do. I think it would be very beneficial for just another look at the photometrics and make sure we're on the boundaries their infringement on. From what I see here, it's pretty cut off at a certain spot, and there's some pretty good vegetation between where the field is and the backyards of these residences. So I can support a field that can be used here in Maine a little more, given the challenges we have in scheduling. And certainly, Little League is a start. We have some major league players that started in Little League, and it's great to see. So, to your team, thanks for bringing this forward. You'll be working with Autumn and her team, and see if you can iron some things out and make sure you're keeping the residents that are affected with this are in the know. Communication means a lot. All right. Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll close this one. Thanks, Nick. All right, moving on to, let's see. Now, we have 9 items and we've just finished 2, and we started at 6:30. So when we go back to public comment, I was neglectful in saying that we try to limit public comment to 3 minutes so that we can hear everybody, and you're always able to send us written comments. We do look at them. With that, let's go to 4.03 Sebago Technics on behalf of NLM Enterprises LLC, Elmwood Meadows Subdivision, also known as the Tower Lot Subdivision, has requested preliminary subdivision review with a revised submission for their proposed traditional subdivision. The proposal is to be subdivided the property to create 23 single-family house lots at 19 Elmwood Avenue, Assessors Map R57, Lot 3. Helen, you want to brief us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you mentioned, this is a 23-lot conservation subdivision. It's about a 16.8 acre parcel in the R2 zoning district. And I'll just review briefly the prior reviews. Sketch plan came forward in January of this year. And then the preliminary subdivision for Elmwood came before this board in August as well as October of this year. And there are some items for discussion highlighted in the staff memo that was distributed and included in the agenda. These mostly focus on a bit about traffic calming and also focusing on wetlands, barriers and access and buffering. So I'll let the applicant expand more on that when I pass it over. The plan is here for your reference and the applicant is available for questions.
Thanks, Helen. And for the applicant.
Share.
I would if that's possible. Good evening. My name is Chris Taylor, professional engineer with Sebago Technics on behalf of NLM Enterprises tonight. So quick rundown. This parcel is 16.8 acres, R2 zone, does have 2 radio towers on it and 1 cell phone tower. And there's over 1 acres of wetlands, which requires us to do a conservation subdivision for this project and this lot. We're proposing 23 lots in a conservation subdivision. The 2 radio towers are proposed to be removed as part of this project, and the 1 cell tower would remain. Plan is to further divide lot 23, which is shown in the center of this subdivision, the large lot in the center. Once that cell tower is able to be removed, further subdivided for a total 27 lots. The subdivision does include 1,700 feet of road designed to the public road standard, has a sidewalk on one side. intended to be conveyed to the town once it's constructed. Connects to Layton Farms Road. We've talked about this connection previously at other meetings. Part of this proposal is to relocate one of the existing mailboxes within the Layton Farms subdivision that's near the proposed intersection. The mailboxes for these lots, as well as the existing mailboxes, are proposed to be relocated and moved onto Layton Farms Road between Elmwood Avenue and the proposed intersection that you see on this plan here. They'd be on the east side of the road, and they'd be across from a wooded portion of the open space land across the street. We've laid out the road and the lots to avoid wetland impacts. There's wetland impacts kind of sporadic. There's 4 different wetland systems, so we've tried to do some funky geometry and work this road and these lots around the wetlands to avoid impacts to them. We are providing 50% open space. So the lot is 16.8 acres. We're providing 8.4 acres of open space. The open space is proposed to be conservation land to conserve, protect the wetlands, maintain the trees where there's trees, maintain the open and the field where there's field. So there's 8.4 acres of open space. The total of the 23 lots is 5.8 acres of land that can be sold off. So just to give you some reference to that, even though we're proposing the open space to be conservation land, we are having opportunities for walking trails, passive recreation. On this plan, there's a trail that's highlighted here, kind of, you can see it in yellow, goes behind the lots. There's another trail, potential trail that could go through the access easement here, work out into the open space, kind of the cleared area in this area, and then come back in, connect into the road. So multiple access points. The other thing I wanted to show is the neighborhood. This is a view of the neighborhood. So the proposed subdivision is this area here, and you can see the open space in yellow. This abuts existing neighborhoods which have many sidewalks, lots of open space that's conserved with additional trails. So on this plan, the black lines are highlighting all the sidewalks that run along the road in this neighborhood. You can see there's a lot of sidewalk connection, a lot of ability to walk to different houses. There's also 2 trailheads on this red parcel, which is public open space, 25 acres. There's one trail connection here and another one kind of to the northeast up here. For utilities, all the lots proposed to connect to public water and sewer. We've submitted ability to serve letters for both water and sewer. On a stormwater basis, we are proposing a stormwater basin in the northeast corner of the lot. There's been some revisions to the stormwater basin as we've worked with town staff. Kind of lowered the elevation of the berm, made it wider. We've increased the width of the berm going around the basin to 12 feet wide to provide better access. On the drainage easement that is on this side of the property, we've added a retaining wall so that easement can be flat and can be used for access for maintenance of the stormwater basin. That provides 2 accesses, one on the north side of the basin, one on the south side, so one at each end. There's an access point next to the sediment forebay where water comes into the basin. Then there's an access point on the north end where towards the outlet side of the basin for better maintenance. There's been some notes in the staff comments about constrained lots. There are 4 constrained lots that the town has kind of identified, town staff has identified. If you look at the they're not highlighted on this rendered plan, but if you look at the subdivision plan that was submitted in the application, those 4 lots are kind of shaded. They've been called out and identified that there's some constraints around them. Those constraints are due to wetland setbacks and easements needed for the drainage system. In addition to that, even though it wasn't required by the ordinance, we worked with staff. We submitted an exhibit that showed what potential houses would look like on those lots. We did basically a pretty generic house configuration with a 2-car garage and a reasonable house size that is actually identical to houses that are in the neighboring community. Those fit on the that configuration fits on 3 out of the 4 constrained lots just fine. The fourth one, the lot is a little bit more narrow, so we revised the house configuration to be a little bit more narrow, put that garage into the house a little bit more instead of sticking off the side. And we did that to try and show that these lots are still very viable lots, even though they have some constraints around them. I think all lots have constraints around them, either with slopes, building setbacks. They all have some constraints. These might be a little bit more constrained, but they're still very buildable, viable lots. We did that. We presented that exhibit not as a way to get approval for those, just as a representation of what could be built. They could be smaller, but we wanted to show that the typical kind of standard house with a 2-car garage, 2 stories, what you see around this neighborhood fits on those constrained lots still. And then I guess I'll just touch briefly on some of the staff comments. Comment number 1 was about the speeds and the connection to Layton Farms Road. I know there's been some concerns around there. One thing that we could do and would be amenable to is adding, we're proposing a crosswalk at that location to get the sidewalk from this proposed subdivision to the existing sidewalk across the street. Could add some pedestrian warning signs saying that there's a crosswalk there that would alert drivers of the road as well as pedestrian crossing in that area. I know there's also a recommendation by staff to either add some physical barrier next to the wetlands, a boulder, fencing. We're amenable to that as well. And then the last thing I would touch on, there was draft conditions of approval at the end of the staff memo, or recommended conditions of approval. I do have a comment on number 3. Which requested a no-cut buffer behind lots 1 through 7. For reference, these are lots 1 through 7 here. There's some open space behind the lots that is forested currently. The plan is to keep that forested, just the same as any of the forested area that's in the open space. There's a large forested area over here to the north, in the northern corner over here. All of that land is proposed to stay maintained as forested land, be subject to the homeowners association, which would kind of spell out what could happen in that open space and what can't. So I don't think that there's an additional need to protect or provide a buffer and mark it on the plans behind lots 1 through 7. I view that as just the same as any of the other forested open space land on this subdivision. With that, I'll turn it back over.
Thank you very much. This item is available for public comment. Anyone wishing, please step to the podium. We'll put you on a 3-minute timer so we can get.
April Hill, Maple Avenue, and once again, I've sent a written communication. I just wanted to expand upon my concerns about traffic, and I appreciate that Jennifer is here and also the town engineer because I work closely with them to create the town's traffic calming policy with the Maple Avenue neighborhood. Maple Avenue and Elmwood were very stressed. There were recent studies done, speed studies, and both Maple Avenue, my section, and Elmwood qualified for a permanent speed table, which means that, it was like the highest standard to qualify for that. And unfortunately, both of those were removed because part of the traffic calming policy is that there has to be 100% buy-in for people living within 100 feet. So we've had those temporary speed tables taken away, and now we have nothing. So now we're talking about adding, I don't know, is it 30 or 40, additional, but whatever it was, those people are going to be coming through Maple Avenue. They're going to be coming on Elmwood. The other thing is that Elmwood Avenue is that there are kids there walking to the bus stop. I'm not sure why, but the town doesn't plow the sidewalks in the winter. So we're talking about, we're going to be increasing traffic where we're already in trouble. And so I didn't know if there would be a way for the developer to work with the town engineer, to put in, not speed tables, but maybe like in Cape Elizabeth, I've seen where it says, I don't know if you've seen that, where it shows you your speed, and then when you slow down, it like gives you a thumbs up. Something like that in our community, like I think would be really helpful on Maple Avenue and Elmwood. And then the other comment I had was about pesticide use and herbicides, because just hearing about how wet this area is, I did have concerns with also all of those homes. Now, this is just a dream of mine, and I know it's not going to happen, but there's an HOA. It would be really great if like they just didn't allow pesticides, because I walk through Layton Farms. I do a lot of walking, as you're coming to realize. And it's a beautiful subdivision, but the lawns are very like perfect. And I always see like people applying pesticides. And so it would just be really great with all the wetlands around if that would be a consideration, because there will be runoff into them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anybody online?
Yes.
Denise, can you hear us?
Yes, hi there.
Hi, Denise.
I'm back again, and I'm trying to ensure that the entranceway to Layton Farm is not completely perpendicular to Layton Farm Road, because the headlights will go right into my bedrooms if it is completely perpendicular. It looks like it's on an angle which will divert the headlights from being straight on to my house. But my house is right there, and this crosswalk that you're talking about will literally, it just doesn't belong there. It takes away from the residential nature of the community. If the people don't know how to cross the street, you're just changing the whole development of the neighborhood if you put a crosswalk literally in front of my house. You're absolutely going to affect the value of my home. Even though these houses are selling for $1.1 million. There's one on the resale in the development. And I agree with the former participant. There's lots of wetlands, and I concern about the water that will flow down this new road. Will it be captured before it hits Layton Farm Road? Otherwise, because that land is somewhat higher. And that's stuff I can't understand on the drawings, but that's a concern, that the water will go right into Layton Farm Road. Anyway, I will hope that this road is not completely perpendicular to Layton Farm Road, because if it is, I don't know what I'm going to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Denise. All set now. All right, closing public comment to my members of the board. We've seen this project now several times. I would like to hear from the applicant on the ideas of some of the mentioned calming, traffic calming potential. I kind of like those speed lights because it does draw your attention, and it does automatically, you take your foot off the accelerator. Is that something that you might consider bringing forward to the project?
Yeah, from our perspective, we'd want to work with town staff, town engineer, the neighborhood of in terms of signing, what they would want. if it's, I don't know what the ordinance says on traffic calming measures. But if there's something, that can be installed sign wise where, you'd be amenable to that if that helps the neighborhood. Um, this is a small part of the neighborhood. It sounds like there's an existing speeding issue. So, not trying to redesign the whole roads, but,
Understood.
yeah, if you want a flashing speed limit sign, that seems something pretty minor that we could add in here. But
Okay.
it's not necessarily just what we want. We want to work with staff and the town on what's the best solution here. But whatever that comes to, we can kind of work through that, I think.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, working with staff is the way forward. Do any of you folks have any additional comments? Jen, go ahead.
I would just like to speak to that topic too, and I think that in this case, we don't have to ask you to, we don't have to say, oh, it sounds like there's a problem in the neighborhood. Can you look into it, or can you, or is the traffic from this development going to contribute to that? We just know that you have to travel on those roads in order to get to this location. And I think the fact that these speed studies and the work that the town has put in already to look into the requests about traffic calming, it identifies a need. That's my understanding. And so I understand our current traffic calming policy, and I understand how and why the trial treatments were deployed and then removed. But I just, like, from a common sense standpoint, it really feels like it would be great if this project could help implement some of those recommendations. And I would leave it to staff and the applicant to work through maybe the details of that, but the need is identified, and it is there now prior to this development, but I also don't think that we can say that this additional traffic, while it, will be relatively minor in the, in the grand scheme of things, it will contribute. So these folks will be traveling on those same roads by foot and by car. And I think that it would be great if there was a way to make that happen. So I just wanted to reinforce that point.
Thank you, Jen. Roger, you all set?
Very brief.
Okay.
We've been looking at this since January, I think, and we've had multiple discussions pertaining to just about everything pertaining to this piece of property. And I even think at one point, I even suggested having that road go perpendicular onto Layton Farm Road, but now I guess we're not gonna do that. We're gonna stay on an angle, so not to have headlights going into the abutters property. So I'm ready to move on this thing because I think everything's been satisfied.
Okay. Thanks, Roger. James?
Just one quick comment from me, more of a, I guess, general comment for us here. Looking back last year when we were talking about wetland setbacks, and we had an advisory opinion to town council, and originally from, I think, I can't remember if it was conservation, they were recommending 100-foot setbacks, and that caused an uproar, and then there was a lot of pushback on that, and eventually it got whittled down to about 25-foot setbacks. And my struggle on this one from the beginning was just not enough green space. And yes, there is green space on this property, but with the amount of congestion of the homes that are around here, if there was a compromise, we'd gone with 50-foot setbacks and the town council had approved 50-foot setbacks, maybe 3 of the 4 of these sort of condensed lots may not be here, and I would be a lot more comfortable with the amount of green space that would be in this development for it. That's just my comments I just want to make known.
Thanks, James. We all set? I'm all set as well. we have seen this and we've done, I feel, our due diligence. And we're going to plead with the applicant to continue the good faith work you're doing with staff and resolve some of these conditions that I'm about to lay out for you. And with that, I do have a motion here. I move to approve the preliminary subdivision plan of Elmwood subdivision proposed by LMN Enterprises LLC. This project is depicted in plan set prepared by Sebago Technics dated 10/20/25. Findings. The proposal for the 23 lot subdivision, conservation subdivision located at 19 Elmwood Avenue. This project includes access to the new lots via a new looped road. The board finds the project meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, the zoning ordinance, with the conditions below. Conditions to be addressed with final subdivision submittal. Number one, add a note to the plans to provide a grading plan with the building permit submittals for lots 12, 13, 4, and 8. Number two, the saw cut associated with the utility connections on Layton Farm Road should be shown in a straight cut curb line to curb line to provide on a large uniform trench patch. Number three, if the intent of the stormwater management is to leave the forested areas behind lots 1 and 7, then add a note to the final subdivision plan identifying this is a no-cut buffer. Number four, address staff comments in memo dated 12/15/2025 with final subdivision submittal. Number five, address engineering comments in memo dated 12/2/2025 with final subdivision submittal. Number six, provide draft HOA documents, including an invasive plant management plan with final subdivision submittal. Number seven, update the plan set as discussed at the 12/15/2025 planning board meeting. This includes working with staff on implementing traffic calming measures. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Roger. Doreen, would you take the roll?
Rick King,
Yes.
Roger Beely,
Yes.
Jennifer Lack,
Yes.
James Hebert,
No.
and Will Sidley.
Yes.
All right, there you go. You're ready to get started. Continue to work with staff. We appreciate the effort you have done. All right. Let's see, we can get one more and then we'll take a quick break. Everybody all right with that? All right, let's move to 4.04 BH2M on behalf of Mezzalin Development LLC in requesting subdivision amendment review for a 10-lot residential subdivision, Marsh Bend subdivision located at 48 Pine Point Road, Assessors Map R64, Lot 2. Helen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the first amendment to the Marsh Bend subdivision, and the amendment proposes to change the allowable impervious area for lots 2, 5, and 8 within the subdivision. It proposes an increase of 3,000 square feet of impervious for each lot, totaling 9,000 square feet total increase in impervious for the subdivision. This is in the R3 and RP resource protection zoning districts. And I believe the applicant is available for questions.
Thank you, Helen. And for the applicant?
Hey, my name is Gage Feeney, BH2M. I'm here on behalf of Steve Blake. And you guys did a very good job of summarizing exactly what's going on. We have been approved already for a final subdivision, and the applicant would like to add a little bit more impervious area to 3 separate lots, lots 2, 5, and 8. We were originally approved for 3,400 square feet of impervious area on each of these lots, and with the addition of 3,000 square feet to each would bring us to 6,400. We have designed both the wet pond and the soil filter that are on site previously to already at a surplus that's able to handle this, which we have run calculations on through HydroCAD. We have seen a very, very small increase because of this, very minimal, nothing in the 2-year storm, 0.808 CFS in the 10-year storm, and 0.03 CFS in the 25-year storm. all of these still in the post conditions will be less than the predicted flows already in the pre-development. I believe that's all I have. One of the comments actually that was made that we did receive was about one of the notes when we submitted back, and it was simply a mistake on our end. We do not have exact building plan numbers that will be going on. We're not sure exactly what they're going to do. And when we updated the plan, we realized that we we updated the building coverage portion instead of the impervious area. Right. So because of that, we showed a 33% building coverage, which would have gone over the ordinance of 25%. So we have since updated the plan now to show that a maximum of a 4,000 square foot footprint will be allowable on that lot, no matter what whoever person decides to choose. So that's been updated and show that no matter what, will be under 25%, and the remaining comments for the recommended conditions of approval make total sense.
Great, thank you. This item is available for public comment. Anyone wishing, please step to the podium. Anybody online?
No.
Closing public comment, and this is pretty cut and dry. But I will offer the floor for anybody. All set down here? Sure, James, go ahead.
Because of its proximity to the marsh, do we have any concerns about adding impervious surface? Just because of how close it is to the marsh? Anybody?
Are you asking?
I'm
the
asking.
town engineer?
Yes, please. Anybody answer me?
They are within the parameters for DEP permitting and the ordinance. So they're also providing that treatment prior to the marsh discharge. So
Correct.
I guess they're within that threshold, I would say. It's not unlimited, but they're within it now. So I'm
Okay.
comfortable with that.
I guess as long as the town's okay with it, and I guess I am as well. Just this was my issue with it when it first came by or came through last year or the year before, is that its proximity to it and just the amount of development we're putting in next to the marsh. So thank you for that.
Thanks, James. William?
Yeah, I was not on the board when this has been previously discussed, and I understand that this is within the thresholds of the DEP limits. And Angela, I'm happy to hear that you are comfortable with it being within those thresholds. Just would like to put it out there that I am deeply uncomfortable with this, considering the increase in impervious next to, I think, one of the great reasons for Scarborough being a destination for everybody, and how fragile marshes are, and that once you lose a marsh, you don't get it back easily. And that the work, I would rather us err on the side of less impervious, especially next to the Scarborough Marsh, as opposed to more. And I think that is not only good ecological sense, but I think it's good economic sense for the town to protect, I think, its greatest asset.
Thank you. And agreed with. I don't have any additional thoughts on this project, so I'm going to move to approve the First Amendment to the Marsh Bend subdivision proposed by, I'm sorry, how do you say that? Correct. Huh? Mizoen Development LLC, as depicted in plan sets prepared by BH2M Engineers dated 10/23/25 with the following findings and conditions. Findings: the amendment constitutes the first amended subdivision of Marsh Bend. This includes the revision of allowable impervious area on lots 2, 5, and 8 by 3,000 square feet per lot, constituting a 9,000 square foot increase in an impervious area for the subdivision. The planning board finds that the project meets the requirements of the subdivision and zoning ordinances with the following conditions. Prior to the release of the signed subdivision plan for recording, the applicant shall update the building footprint for lot 2 to be no more than 25% of the lot. 2, submit the HydroCAD report showing the flow rates as stated in the stormwater report, and update the subdivision plan to note the changes in each lot's allowable impervious cover. And 3, the amended subdivision must adhere to the notes and requirements of the original subdivision plan with the exception of the proposed change in impervious coverage in lots 2, 5, and 8. This shall be reviewed by the planning department. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Roger. Doreen, would you take the roll?
Rick Monking,
Yes.
Roger Bailey,
Yes.
Jennifer Ladd,
Yes.
James Hebert,
No.
Son.
No.
Well, you made it through.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
That was quick. You want to do one more, gang, or you want to take a break? You need a break? Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll take the downs. All right. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess and we'll be back here at 8:25. All right. Thank you very much. We're back at it, and we're on action item 4.05 MNR Holdings and Goral Palmer on behalf of Crossroads Holdings LLC are requesting subdivision amendment review, amendment number 13. This amendment is for proposed lot modifications and additions. The property is located at 106 Innovation Way, Assessors Map U53, Lot 4. Helen, want to brief us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you mentioned, this is the 13th amendment to the Innovation District subdivision, and the lot modifications you mentioned include amending the Lot 2 property line, creating lots 57 and 58, adjusting the stormwater pond area, expanding lots 31 and 51, and correcting a duplicate lot number that was included in the 10th amended subdivision. This is in the Crossroads Plan Development Zoning District, and has been submitted with concurrent site plans for Lot 2 and the Mariners Practice Facility, which are directly following this on the agenda, and the applicant is available for questions.
Thank you, Helen. And for the applicant.
Thank you very much. Dan Bacon here on behalf of Crossroads Holdings. I think Helen did a great introduction. This is a previously approved area. We're really just adapting the lots to accommodate the current program. Most notably the main Mariners Ice Arena, which is next on your agenda. That's going to be lot 57. The corner lot, which will have interconnected driveways and parking. That's also on your agenda. That's lot 2. And then 2 existing lots in development areas, the Crown site, which is lot 31, and 45 Center Street. So they're developed, but we have interest in potential future expansion, given the success of the businesses on those sites, and felt that it made a lot of sense to expand those lots, given this lot line update. So that's a slight kind of addition to the introduction, and we're here to answer any questions the board has, and Drew Gagnon's here as well, should the board have more technical questions on the engineering aspects of the proposal.
Great, thanks, Dan. This item is available for public comment. Anyone wishing, please go to the podium. Anybody online? All right, closing public comment and turning this over to the board. I would just say that this is pretty much dotting the i's and crossing the t's in getting these lots formed so that they can actually be built on. But if anybody has any questions for the applicant, feel free. None? Ken? All set? Roger? Okay. I think we'll move forward with this. I don't think there's any questions. Your staff's all set? All right, I move to approve the 13th amendment to the Innovation District subdivision proposed by Crossroad Holdings as depicted in plan set prepared by MNR Holdings dated 11/17/25 with the following findings and conditions. Findings: the amendment constitutes the 13th amended subdivision of the Innovation District. This amendment includes a change to the Lot 2 property line, the creation of 2 new lots along Innovation Way and Paddock Road, lots 57 and 58, and an adjustment to the stormwater pond area and an expansion of lots 31 and 51. The amendment also corrects an error from the 10th amended subdivision, which assigned a lot a duplicate number. The lot is corrected and relabeled as lot 56 in this amendment. The planning board finds the project meets the requirements of the subdivision and zoning ordinances with the following conditions. Conditions: 1, all conditions from the 12/20/25 approval of the 12th amended subdivision shall apply. Number 2, prior to the release of the signed subdivision plan for recording, the applicant shall A, add a minimum 5-foot buffer between the wetland boundary and the lot in the limit of the work to ensure the constructability of the site can be achieved. B, added the sidewalk along the north side of Paddock Road to complete the sidewalk network in the subdivision. This section of the sidewalk will be completed with the development of Lot 2. And C, address engineering peer review comments in the memo dated 12/2/25. I know I kind of messed up the numbering. There's a blank in here. This should be reviewed by the planning department. With that and the error in my numbering, I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, James. Doreen, would you take the roll? Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Jennifer Ladd?
Yes.
James Hebert?
Yes.
And Rolf Segler.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. All right, moving to 4.06. Hebert Construction, Gora Palmer and Studio Troika. On behalf of the Maine Mariners practice facility and ice arena, Lot 2, are requesting site plan review for construction of a 49,950 square foot practice facility for the Maine Mariners at 59 Innovation Way, Assessors Map U53, Lot 2. Helen, give us a brief.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a site plan proposal. It was previously seen by this board as a sketch plan. The proposal is for a 42,950 square foot footprint practice facility for the Maine Mariners. It would be 2 stories with a total area of 51,625 square feet and a 500 seat mezzanine section in that second floor. As well as training areas and a pro shop. It's in the Crossroads Plan Development Zoning District within the Innovation District, and the applicant is available for questions.
Thank you, Helen. And for the applicant.
Good evening. Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Timothy Hebert. I'm the owner of Hebert Construction and Hebert Development. I'm here tonight with our team, Sam from the Maine Mariners, Drew from our civil engineer from Coral Palmer, Nina from Hebert Development, Rob from Studio Troika, our architect, and Dan Bacon from the Downs. We have a strong design team with tremendous experience and ownership who cares as much about this facility and how it will positively impact youth and local sports, as well as the town's high school and middle school programs, as much as becoming the new home for the Maine Mariners, where they will live, practice, train, and become engaged in the local community. We're excited to present our project tonight and look forward to answering all of your thoughtful questions and concerns that were presented to us earlier. And without further ado, I plan to turn this over to Drew, who will walk us through the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Just to orient the board here, Drew Gagnon with Goral Palmer. This site is directly south of Costco along Innovation Way. Paddock Road is this leg of the road that's right off the roundabout. Scarborough Downs Road kind of carries through from Payne Road south, and you can see the site here in bold. And we went over the team members here. Helen did a good job introducing the site, so I won't reiterate all this information. I will note that we came in with sketch plan back in October, and we had an 800 seat arena that's been reduced to 500 seats now, and I'll talk about how that impacted the parking on my next couple of slides here. Again, the facility is going to include a single ice rink, pro shop, and training areas kind of located on the I'll call it the single story version of the site. And this is, I'll let Rob talk about the building architecture, just a little preview of what some of the renderings that were included in your application package. And then, of course, there's a 4,000 square foot out parcel building located in the corner of Innovation Way and Paddock Road. That's being developed by M&R Holdings and Crossroad Holdings. So that's the next item on your agenda. I just did want to note that these have been all coordinated together, as I'm sure it looks like on the plans. So a few updates since the last sketch plan meeting we had. You'll notice that the roundabout at the front entrance was removed and replaced with more of a T intersection. This is a more simpler design, and it actually reduces impervious area by quite a bit. So we were pleased when we reviewed this that, okay, maybe if we just had a median island down the middle here, it's a little bit more predictable, and it works a lot better with bus drop off. So that's kind of one of the main reasons for that prominent entrance to remove that roundabout. We feel like we've kind of re-energize the site a little bit, removing the roundabout and adding that median island there instead. In the rear of the parking lot in this blue dashed line is a 76 space parking lot.
that's not proposed to be constructed at this time. That would be kind of left vegetated. We'd bring gravels in, some base level gravels in, and we'd vegetate the site temporarily until at time that parking may be needed and it could be easily added in the future. So that was, again, the applicant's intent to limit impervious area on site and right size the parking. And I'll get into that in just a little bit more detail just a second here. We do have a few placemaking areas I wanted to call out that have been added to the plan since the sketch plan. There's benches on the north side of the development here, kind of on the drop off in the northern parking lot area. And then this area in the orange is depicted as granite pavers on the west side of the building. So we're excited for that to help activate street frontage for this project, as well as for the public during ice arena time, as well as for the Mariners players and staff during the training facility time. So we really see it as a multi-use space, and we're happy that we were able to make use of that area there and have it be a nice placemaking area. As far as parking, I showed this table at the last meeting, and this was also updated and provided in the application package. So we're proposing 179 parking spaces on site. And that's, again, without the rear parking lot. So that's kind of the new updated constructed day one number. So 219 is included on both sites. So if you include the out parcel, which again, separate application, but just in terms is going to activate and act as one large parking lot, about 219 spaces. And then when you add in the additional possible spaces, again, aren't being constructed quite yet, that'd be 295 max parking between the two sites. And we feel like that's the right number for this seat reduction. So we're proposing a 2.8 seat per space parking ratio, and which is slightly really close to what we had for the 800 seat arena. So the most comparable arena at this rate is the Ice Vault in Hollowell, which has about 540 seats. And again, we're at about 500, and that has very similar seats per parking ratio. So again, this is just provided showing that we've looked at the different arenas, ice arenas around the northern New England area, and we're matching pretty close to the other arenas that are proposed. And then the parking is really related to hosting the hockey tournaments. So the Mariners staff and players during the day from a 9 to 3, 9 to 2 operation is really just limited to 25 to 30 people. Obviously the weekends and afternoons could be utilized as that ice rink rental time. So that's where the parking's kind of been generated around. And I did include some of these figures in the back of our cover letter for our application package. We heard one of the planning board comments was how are we, the building siting and how is it activated with the street frontage? And I just wanted to kind of go back in time a little bit here, and we provided these two concepts that we had generated kind of naturally when we first were looking at this site. And I wanted to point out how these concepts don't really work for the programming or from a safety perspective. Again, all this was provided in the application package. I just wanted to highlight it real quickly for the board here. So this is the first concept that what it's doing is it places the building about 50 to 60 feet more north of the current location. And some of the reasons why this doesn't work is I've talked about before, there's the potential for a second ice rink expansion. Based on where the locker rooms are and the interior programming, the ice rink expansion will be on the northern half of the building, kind of right off this this northern wall here. So with that, you wouldn't get a ring road around the building. So this doesn't work in terms of from a fire truck and emergency access standpoint. In addition, the entrance really needs to be directly across from the Costco entrance. This doesn't provide enough queuing for vehicles entering the site, right? So during hockey tournaments, we're going to have an influx of vehicles within a half-hour period, and those vehicles are going to come in and then want to park and then turn and try to drop off, and there's really just not enough queuing there that could back into Innovation Way. So this simply didn't work from that perspective of moving the building up and reducing the queuing. As you can see, there's wetlands around the site that limit us from being able to slide the building any further east to try to help with that entrance. And then also the majority of the parking is located over 350 feet away from the main entrance, which is on the northern portion of the side. So again, for these numerous reasons, we didn't feel like this was an appropriate concept plan, and again, why it wasn't pursued further. And for the second concept plan, again, we flipped it and rotated it a little bit to try to get the building, the front entrance up right against Innovation Way. And again, this concept, it didn't fit without impacting wetlands. And one of the primary goals was to fit within the development of an upland footprint for the site. So this just simply, in order to get a roadway around, it just simply wouldn't fit within where the wetlands are delineated. The service area for this building is located on this end of the building, and we wouldn't really be able to get any delivery trucks in this location. So again, it just doesn't simply work. That would require more wetland impacts. Also, the service area is facing Paddock Road, rather than our current plan, which has the service area on the bottom right portion of the site facing the trees and away from the public viewpoint. In addition to, the majority of the parking is again at the rear of the building, creating a really long condition for visitors to enter the arena on the northern side. So again, these were provided just simply to show that we did review the building location. We've attempted to do everything we can to pull the building up. Again, we think that based on the design of the building and kind of the landscaping, that we've really tried and done a good job of activating that street frontage from a view perspective, as well as engaging the building with the road. So with that, I'm going to ask Rob to come up and talk a little bit about building architecture, and then I'll hop into some of the town comments. Thanks.
So my name is Robert Elfer. I'm a partner at Studio Troic Architects. We're an architecture firm in Boston that works a lot in the area of sports architecture. So hockey rinks are one of our favorite things to design, by the way, because I'm a hockey player and I love hockey and I love doing this. So when we design hockey rinks, one of the things we think about is this is a building that has a strong urban character. It becomes a big presence in a lot of municipalities. So we try to think of it like a civic building. Can you hear me? I'm sorry about that. Oh, sorry about that. You want me to start all over again, or? So anyways, we try to think of a strong civic presence that this building has. So it's not just a hockey rink, and it's not just, in this case, it's kind of exciting because it's the Maine Mariners practice facility. So there's sort of two parts to this building, which are getting blended into one piece. Let me just stop my computer. So what we tried to do is think about how this building fits in the overall landscape, and we really understood Paddock Way and Innovation Way as being two separate pieces. Innovation Way, thinking of it as kind of the primary entrance, it's northern facing. We're using a lot of glass at the front entry to create a double height space and sort of a beacon to the building. So it's the first thing that you would see when you would approach it. So the northern facade, getting northern light into the building is a really nice way to bring light into a building. So this is working the way around on Paddock Way. We did try to use the smaller building in front, which is a single-story structure for the Maine Mariners practice facility, to start to break up the mass of these buildings. So obviously a hockey rink, because of the height that you need, it's a fairly large structure. We've worked pretty hard with the materials and some datums to sort of break that down. So as you start to see, as we work our way around Paddock Way, I'd say this is coming from Innovation Way, sort of a little farther away from Costco. You start to see the little orange triangle there, which orients you. What you start to see here on the hockey rink side is breaking up that facade. We cited a lot of the design guidelines, so we think we're hitting pretty much everything people are looking for here. But the base of the building, there's about a 10-foot datum with a different color and material on it. We've used these vertical elements to break up the facade. And as we work our way, oops, did I miss one? Oh, so I'll leave it in this one. This is the front entry. So think of this as the main front entry of the building, so that you're really coming to it from the roundabout, hitting it dead on, and that's kind of your main focus on the building. And I think I ran out of slides, Drew. So sorry. Oh.
Thanks, Rob. So just rounding it out here, just wanted to touch on some of the peer review and town comments. We're pleased with pretty much everything said, and I think we're in agreement with it. The wetland setback request for 5 feet is certainly doable, and we'll adjust the grading plan so that's accomplished. There was a question on the 76 space rear parking lot, and the trail connection. So I talked about this during the sketch plan, but we're providing, there was a lot. This was originally Lot 2, had a trail connection from Innovation Way down, and it kind of follows the stormwater facility down to, I'll call it the remaining crossroads land, which is south of Innovation District. We're still maintaining that connection with this wide sidewalk that kind of follows the building. We pick it up back here along this access drive. So with the removal, I'll say, of the initial and a phased approach of the 76 space parking lot, This red line was a paved sidewalk that was following the parking lot. Well, we're going to provide that as a stone dust trail in the interim so that that connection is still provided all the way through. Once you get off site of the Mariners and over by the stormwater facility, which was part of that subdivision amendment that was just approved, that's the same material. So we're essentially still providing that connection in this phased approach. Comment on the traffic turn lane methodology. There was a comment from the traffic peer reviewer just in terms of the methodology for that turn lane, and we're happy to address that, and we've reviewed it, and there's no issues in terms of using a different methodology for that. It's just related to roundabouts rather than stop intersections. And then the engineering peer review comments, there were only a few of them, and we're happy to address those at the same time. With that, I'm happy to turn it back to the board. And again, we've got a full team here to happy to answer any question seeking site plan approval this evening. So thank you. Turn it back to the board.
Thanks, Drew. This item is available for public comment. Anyone wishing, please step to the podium. No hands. We'll close public comment and bring this to discussion point. First off, I was the one that was concerned about the siding on the building, and I appreciate seeing the different potential ways you could have sided this building. And I'm comfortable. I certainly think the queuing is important because these parents will arrive at the same time. They all arrive at the same time to get that seat just before the game, and there'll be a lot of traffic coming in. So I think I'm very comfortable in this siting now, knowing what you went through and some of the obstacles that you had in previous thoughts. So thank you for doing that. I have a couple of questions. These things are very, very energy intensive, and that can put some strain on our infrastructure, on the electrical grid. And I'm just wondering what the plans might be, or what type of system the ice making engineering would look like for this.
Certainly.
Hopefully not using natural gas.
Well, so right now, we're still studying those options, but all the options are on the table, and it'll come down ultimately to a value, decision on a lot of these things. Right now, there's like 3 different ways to do it. Obviously, the most energy efficient way is also the most expensive way. So,
First cost expensive.
yeah, first cost. And so we're in the midst of kind of studying these things as we move through into kind of design development on the building. But, we're looking at, from an energy perspective, we've made sure that the roof structure has the structural capacity to be able to be PV ready, so that there's a possibility for photovoltaic panels. We've installed or plan to install electric vehicle charging stations in there. We're looking at the Zamboni option of that being an electric Zamboni, which kind of goes against electrification, but is kind of a sustainable word these days. And we're looking at all those options as well. Also, the rink mechanical system has heat reclaim. So, part of ice making is heat generation through the process of making ice. And so that heat will get recovered into the mechanical system to be able to heat the locker rooms that are in the cold space all the time. And so things of that nature, as well as the Mariner specific space, where we consider it more like building mechanical, all those systems are being, funneled through an energy recovery ventilator so that we're, maximizing efficiency for the building. So, LED lighting throughout, obviously that's kind of a given. But, the mechanical loads will be the largest loads that, from an electrification standpoint, this building will endure.
I appreciate that. I would also say that there is some state funding for doing something that you wouldn't typically do. As you mentioned, the most efficient way is likely to be the most expensive, but there are ways that you can get those first costs down And we're here in Scarborough, conscious of the sustainability and the built environment here, and would look to the Mariners, who have a great reputation, to become part of our partnership with sustainability within the town. So I appreciate you investigating that and work through staff. And if you need some information, we can get you the information.
Sure. Well, I wanted to make one other point in terms of, what you're talking about and the building siting question. So one of the only reasons why we were able to add the glass that we intend to place on the building is because of the orientation of the building being north facing. And so that was very intentional on our behalf, but that will, without that building siting and having the glass on the north side, we wouldn't be able to, take advantage of daylighting, natural daylighting, that otherwise we wouldn't be able to do that for that large volume of space. So, that in and of itself would allow for some efficiencies as well.
Yeah.
And so all these things we're constantly thinking about, and ownership is very interested in making sure that we are designing the most sustainable, building that we can do. And so that's part of our team's design goals, is to ensure that that's happening. And obviously, as everybody knows, all those decisions come down to a cost benefit analysis, that whether the project gets built normally has to do with whether we can hit a budget or not. And so we're looking at all those things now, and it's early in the design, and we're taking energy consumption and life cycle cost of the building into consideration in every decision we make.
Thank you. One other question, did you give any thought to an area on the second floor, if this is going to be used for, high school competitive contests? A lot of these schools have booster clubs and they like to sell concessions. And I noticed there was one area on the second floor that kind of looked like it was there, but kind of undefined as a use. Just explore maybe some opportunity of providing a way in which these different schools can bring in concessions, and they make a little bit of money, and it helps the team out. Just a thought, because I looked at the interior and said, well, there might be an opportunity for that. And then finally, just a question, will this facility be open at some point for like public skating during non-training times?
Hi, Sam Murray with the Maine Mariners. The answer to your question is absolutely yes. We're also in the process of starting up a foundation focused on learn to skating and just kind of grassroots hockey. And we see the practice facility being a big initiative of supporting that cause. So yeah, public skating, learn to skate, and just overall public accessibility.
Thank you. I think that'll be a nice addition for the town. That's all I have right now off the top, but I'll open it up to my colleagues. Anybody want to start? William?
I feel nervous about starting now. Wow. I think the first is just, and I think underscoring the comments of the chair around the value proposition of sometimes more first cost expensive items is winter outside of things. This is a facility for a winter sport that used to be practiced more and more outdoors on ponds, and that is unreliable year over year here in Maine. And so I think to the extent that winter sports can lead in both in sustainability, I think it is a good look. I think it is a good look for the sport. I think it's a good look for the sport here in Scarborough. And so I think that is something that I would just, I hope the numbers work, because I think that would be just another evidence point of the value alignment with the town here in Scarborough. I think the second point, and I just wanted to get into the discussion around the waiver requested for the signage, and was hoping for some more information about that. That is quite an increase. I am mindful as I direct people off the highway into Scarborough that the first thing you're greeted by is an Acura sign with a nice sign underneath. As you enter the Downs neighborhood, something I'm very excited about. You have Costco, which is a great tenant here in Scarborough, but I'm mindful of signs. I am sensitive to signs as someone who lives down the street from this, and so would just love some more explanation of
of how you're approaching this, and how the proceeds of a named arena could perhaps offset some of the costs associated with some of the sustainability concerns that I raised.
Yeah, I can do this better this time. I can try to do that. Struggling with this computer, which is not mine. Actually, I'm going to let you drive it and tell me where that slide is for the signage. It's right there. There we go. So we're dealing with sort of a couple of different parts to it, because in an arena like this, you've got obviously a well-known entity like Maine Mariners. So we're looking at 200 feet total, 100 feet on the primary facade. And really what we're looking at, Maine Mariners above, there's that big glass piece, and putting that up there. But there's also the thought of naming rights for the arena as well. So that's the second part to that, which is pretty important. And then there's a small signage on the right-hand side of the building. But really the big driver is, how do you do something that's proportionate to the size of the building? And that's the idea behind that breakup and that waiver request.
That's really helpful. I think that is an increase. I'm happy here there's a foundation. If there's naming rights, I think the proceeds of naming rights should go directly into the foundation to support youth sports, and potentially, again, some of the sustainability concerns. But considering that is a waiver that is being asked above and beyond what is currently allowed in the ordinance.
Thank you.
Thanks, William. James, you want to go?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Three questions, a couple questions I have to start. One, Mariners players who are there, are they going to be stowing and storing equipment on site at the facility? That's a head shake, yes, thank you. Now, just so you don't have to come up and say it. The other question I have related to that, there was comments last meeting about Mariners living in the Downs, and that going to the arena would be a really great asset. I mean, it's a really logical thing for it. So tell me, Drew, what do we have for trails that we can like connect and clearly mark directly from the residential areas where the players live straight to the hockey arena? Can we add some signage here that say, this way to hockey kind of thing, to really like make a path there and really encourage the players who are there? If they're stowing most of their equipment at the facility, I guess it kind of sucked to see them just driving there when they live there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think primary goal and one of the reasons for this site was because the ability to bike or walk there is right. It's right down the road, I'll say. So in terms of additional wayfinding, we can certainly look into that. I think that's a very relevant idea. In terms of actually getting there, the easiest path would be the Scarborough Downs Road multipurpose path that's being constructed right now. It's actually just got paved, that connects the roundabout to the town center. And I understand some of the Mariners players would be likely in that town center southern portion, kind of by the town center residential area. So that continuous sidewalk all the way up there to the roundabout, there's a crossing there, and then there's a 10-foot path that actually leads up to the Costco intersection. So there's a few different ways for players and staff to get into the site there via a few different sidewalk connections. So apologize, I don't have an overall Downs plan here, but essentially there is a continuous sidewalk path from basically Scarborough Downs Road all the way up. That trail connection I had mentioned earlier will connect through the site around this gravel wetland down following an outlet pipe. Right now, that's not really going to anything because it's an undeveloped area. Eventually, that will connect through kind of on the right side of Scarborough Downs Road as the site fills in some more. So I would say the immediate path would be Scarborough Downs Road. Future plans for trails and additional sidewalks on kind of I'll call it the track side of Scarborough Downs Road, which would be kind of below my mouse over here. So.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I guess, again, just making just trying to make more effort here from our part to encourage people to walk there, because it'll be not only the players, but a lot of the residents that are going to be there as well. I mean, I know a lot of folks that live there with young kids that go to Mariners games like myself, and having that ability to like clearly walk there would be awesome. So I know we have a draft motion in front of us tonight, but if we can, I don't know, maybe include a thing about include wayfinding from residential area to the arena. That way it's locked in stone on this. Tell me about the operating hours. So how late will events be going there, and how early will people be there? So I'm looking for two things here, late night, early morning.
Yeah, so we're gonna plan on, right now preliminarily, opening up at 5 a.m. That'll be, I know some high school teams practice, men's league teams practicing early in the morning. Figure skating, it's kind of open to whoever wants that 5 a.m. slot. It's not a desirable slot, but we're planning on being open. And then the last slot that we'll have available is 10 to 11 p.m.
Okay.
And that'll be same thing, men's leagues, not high schools at that point. That'll be mostly men's leagues.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So if they close at, if all the services end at 11 o'clock at night, and the earliest people are going to be there is 5 o'clock in the morning, this is leading into my last item on this, is the International Energy Conservation Code 2021 that the town has adopted, state of Maine's adopted through MUBEC. And what they require are 50% dimming of the light fixtures during nighttime hours. And then even fixtures with a wattage higher than 78 watts require an occupancy sensor. And I see that there are 2 fixtures type SC that are 91 watts. So you may want to have your lighting designer look at that so you can change them out or adjust them so you can avoid having an occupancy sensor on those 2 light fixtures. But more importantly, I know it was generally mentioned that the fixtures are going to be dimmed. And then drawing notes on the photometric plan, see lighting shall be dimmed or turned off within 30 minutes of operating hours. What I would like to see, maybe again, memorialized in the draft motion, is that between the hours of 11:30 p.m. and 4:30 a.m., lighting will be dimmed to 50% of its output because no one's going to be there. That's 30 minutes after any event there has concluded. So it gives enough people to leave there, and you're only dimming the lights by 50%. That's still going to be more than enough light to monitor security, people walking through there, plow trucks going through at night. And we get another benefit of, memorializing some sort of energy savings here. I guess, would you guys be amenable to that, making sure that is programmed into your light fixtures?
Yeah, seems reasonable. Yep.
Great. And you got that on them? Thank you.
11:30 to 4:30.
11:30 p.m. to 4:30 a.m.
Yep.
And we don't have to really worry about what we were dealing with earlier with the ball field. You guys aren't really nestled in a very rural, dark area of town. We can really be a little bit more flexible here with, again, a great service and benefit that the town is going to be able to enjoy. So thank you guys. Appreciate that. That's all I have.
Thanks, James.
Okay, I appreciate hearing from the architect. I'm sorry, I forget your name, but your interest in designing these types of buildings. I think this project is exciting, and obviously it's unique to our community, but it really reminds, just hearing you talk about that reminds me of some of the sort of energy that this area has seen around the Hearts of Pine team that has come and just really kind of like created its own type of community. And also I saw a little bit over the weekend about Northeastern University disbanding. I don't know, I guess they're going to tear it down, their Matthews Arena. So this is a hockey arena that's been in place for 100 years plus, and there's just a lot of like really sentimental stories around that. And so I recognize that this is different than a university rink, but I don't know, it helps paint a picture of sort of how this could fit in, not just physically in the parking and the lighting, but really like become part of the fabric of our community. And so I just wanted to mention that. I appreciate the extensive information that you all provided around comparable facility traffic analysis. So taking a look at some of the other arenas, that's really helpful because we understand that this is sort of a unique use. And so having those examples is helpful. And to James's comments earlier about the player trips. And so I guess I just want to be clear that when you are calculating sort of the max trips and max parking demands, you are, or can you, I don't want to lead you, but are you, what would be the most intense use on this site? Would it likely be tournaments, correct? Not actually the Mariners sort of like general use.
Correct. So what we did for the traffic trip generation for this project, we counted two similar facilities and broke it down to a seat rate. And then we assigned those rates at the PM and the Saturday peak hour because that was associated with when there would be hockey tournaments, right? It would be at the afternoon or it'd be on a Saturday or Sunday. The morning trip counts were associated with just the Mariners because during a Monday through Friday operation, it necessarily during the peak hour of a morning commute, it would be just the Mariners players potentially arriving. We assumed every player would drive there just to be conservative for the numbers. Obviously, with our prior discussions, we're hoping that's not the case. So,
Okay, great, perfect. That's my next question is, how can, so recognizing that it's possible, right? And we've heard you say before, that this is a desirable location because so many of your players and or staff are sort of living on site on the downs, and that there are these trail connections or sidewalk connections that will exist between this and where they're living, which is great. But I'm really curious about what programmatically or other elements of this project could be incorporated to really encourage people to do that and perhaps discourage them from driving from further elsewhere in the downs to this facility. And I'm asking that because that is something we have heard from your team all along, is about that is one of the great things about this overall development, is how walkable it is. And you've been working to, you know, in a variety of ways on a lot of these different individual projects to try and make that a reality. And I think, you know, just looking at kind of the overall map layout that you have for this area, you know, the it's all part of the Downs, but the innovation district is a bit, you know, it's a bit removed. There's a walk between there. And so, you know, James had mentioned wayfinding, which I think is a great idea. I wonder if that could even perhaps include mileage, you know, your 0.5 miles to the arena or something like that, or 0.1 mile to town center or something, just to help give people that kind of connection and discourage driving, because otherwise we're going to accommodate, we're going to provide a parking space for those vehicles twice, right? Because that car is also going to park somewhere in the town center or wherever they're living, and then require parking at the arena as well. And I think that because this is all sort of like coordinated, that there should be ways and strategies that you can include in order to really encourage folks not to just, you know, single occupancy traffic in between these two. And I guess along those lines, I know you had just said that there was a section of that trail or sidewalk that was just paved, but I wonder if it's lit. And that is one element that I think would highly encourage, particularly given some of the, you know, the extreme hours, if you will, of the facility being in use. Certainly having lighting along that stretch of sidewalk would help encourage that kind of activity. Do you feel as though the, based on the analysis that you've done of other facilities and the way that this is laid out, is there a scenario here where you can see a need for any overflow parking? And I ask that having, you know, driven myself to other youth sporting events, tournaments where things turn over. We heard it a little bit actually earlier with the folks from the Little League. And so I'm just curious if you have thought about that sort of even, you know, beyond what's proposed here for parking.
yeah, a couple things. We've done a lot of studying in terms of other facilities and making, you know, checking to the best of our knowledge. No one's parking on the roads at those facilities. So that's kind of first step for us anyway in verifying. I would say the rear parking lot that's highlighted in blue is really the safety net in my mind. That's the 76 spaces that aren't going to be constructed originally, but it provides a really easy, I'll say easy, you got to remove the vegetation and add some pavement, but it relatively easy with all the infrastructure in place, way to add additional parking if it's found that it's needed. So obviously in a unique use like this, that's a concern. So I think from sketch plan to now, the reduction in seats from 800 to 500, there's going to be a capacity limit in the stadium no matter what, right? So I think that rear parking lot really speaks to that. And I'll touch real quick on your sidewalk comment. The this multipurpose path is completely lit all the way through town center to up here. So at nighttime, there won't be really many dark gaps there in that regard. And I will also note, just in terms of getting the word out for, hey, this is a walkable community, even the innovation district, right? Because you mentioned it's a little bit further away. The Downs team's done a really good job of overall trail plans and posting those on their website and also for their resident meetings and such. So I think combination of a mini transportation plan essentially to make it known that here's the wayfinding, here's the trail network, here's the sidewalks, so that the community is aware of that. And I really think it starts with signage and proposing those items. So I think between those things, we feel pretty comfortable with the parking in that regard and sidewalk connections. Yeah.
So I just wanted to make a point to your question. So I think, human nature, you can't force somebody to walk a mile. But I think what the Mariners have done is partnered with the Downs, and they're putting their players in housing within the community of the Downs, which is, in my opinion, amazing that this is all starting to come together. And they don't all live in the same building, but they live in the same neighborhood. And so the chance for carpooling is probably very strong. But being a hockey player myself and played hockey all around the world, it's not very often where a facility like this would need this many parking spaces. And to put it into context, like NYA, for example, it's been around for, many, many years as a rink and very established. They already have their tournaments, they have everything, lined up. They had to create a shared parking arrangement with Clayton's next door. But the reality is that they only have like 100 spaces. And so, I think what's unique about this project is the Downs are coming, with the second project after this on the plan board, which is the other smaller yellow building. I mean, I think everybody assumes that we think that there'll be a restaurant there. And so, shared use, shared parking, and the ability to be able to have some excess flow here, in addition to being in a community in the Downs, would also allow some of those community members to also walk or bike to the facility. So I think there are those options, and it's because of that kind of commonality that's here, and the Mariners kind of making this their home.
Great, thanks. Other than that, I think, I know they've requested a waiver for signage, which I feel like support the explanation for that. It makes sense to me. That's all.
Thanks, Jen. Roger?
So what'd you say about the signage?
Did I support their waiver?
Oh, okay. I think the architectural renderings look great. And I think right there at the roundabout is going to be, I like where it's located and everything. I have no problem with the signage, and I have no problem if you're going to try and get somebody to pay for the, pay for the signage and everything like that, or a sponsor. I mean, that's what you're going to do, whatever you can do to make this sustainable, so I'm not going to tell you what to do there. But I think you've answered all the questions. I mean, you're a pro at this now. And I don't think anybody's going to have a hard time trying to figure out how to get there, no matter where they live. So I'm satisfied.
Thanks, Roger. My final comment is I got to thinking about naming rights for the arena, and it might also be possible for that to intertwine with a PPA for a solar array, where somebody else can get whatever tax credits might still be alive. And there's certainly ways that you can get solar on there. And then eventually you can take ownership of that down the road and, continue to diminish the footprint that this new intensive environment's going to have. So maybe there's a way that there's some money out there from a naming rights and ability to get a PPA started. That would be kind of a cool thing to see on an ice arena. Really cool. I don't have anything further. Yeah, William.
Yeah, just one more. This is, these are these limited opportunities in time. So for the Mariners staff that's here, I think what I hope you've heard is that we think it's really exciting that the players are going to live so close by. And you have an amazing social media team, some sort of campaign with Beacon doing something, riding his bike from the house out to the arena. Like, I think that those opportunities, again, we probably won't see each other again, but those are really good soft power opportunities for you all to lead. As someone with a young daughter in the community, I look forward to having her learn to skate here.
Thanks, William. All right, I think we're all set. Really appreciate the dialogue that we've had, both at the sketch plan and this evening. I move to approve the project titled Maine Mariners Practice Facility and Ice Arena proposed by Power Play Practice LLC. The project is depicted in plan set prepared by Gora Palmer dated 11/17/25. The application is approved with the following findings, waivers, and conditions. Findings: the project will include construction of a 42,950 square footprint practice facility for the Maine Mariners located at 59 Innovation Way in the Downs. The planning board finds that the project meets the requirements of the site plan review and zoning ordinances with the following waivers and conditions. Waivers: 1, site plan review ordinance section 12 to increase the maximum sign sizes in order to provide 3 distinct building mounted signage locations totaling a gross square footage of 200 square feet. Conditions: prior to the start of construction, the applicant shall schedule a pre-construction meeting. This meeting will include appropriate town staff, the developer, and their site contractor, and is to be coordinated through the planning department. The below must be addressed prior to the scheduling of the pre-construction meeting. A, address staff comments in the memo dated 12/15/25. B, address traffic comments in memo dated 12/3/25. C, address engineering comments in memo dated 12/2/25. D, address planning board comments discussed at the 12/15/25 meeting. This includes provide and additional wayfindings from residential areas to the arena. And 2, between the hours of 11:30 p.m. and 4:30 a.m., exterior light shall be dimmed at 50% levels. E, add a minimum 5-foot buffer between the wetland boundary and the limit of the work in order to ensure the constructability of the site can be achieved. F, provide final full plan set to the planning department. This shall include all site, civil plans, landscape plans, lighting plans, and architectural renderings and elevation. G, the applicant shall execute and record a stormwater maintenance agreement with the town. The form of the stormwater maintenance agreement is located in Appendix 1 of the Town of Scarborough's Chapter 419, Post-Construction Stormwater Infrastructure Management Ordinance. H, payment of the Chapter 419 Stormwater Maintenance Agreement and reporting fee, a total of $750. I, payment of all review fees and invoices. This shall be reviewed by the planning department. 2, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall pay traffic impact fees totaling $16,714. This is from $9,814 for Dunstan Corner and $6,930 from the Haggins Parkway. 3, prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall A, submit evidence in the form of a letter or plan prepared and stamped by a professional engineer who either prepared the post-construction stormwater management plan and its associated facilities or supervised the plan and facility construction and implementation. The letter or plan shall certify that the stormwater management facilities have been installed in accordance with the approved post-construction stormwater management plan and that they will function as intended by said plan. B, provide as-built plan for the site. And C, request an inspection by the planning department to ensure compliance with this planning board approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jen. Good. Doreen, would you take the roll?
Rick King,
Yes.
Roger Bailey,
Yes.
Jennifer Glad,
Yes.
James Hebert,
Yes.
and Will Sudler.
Yes.
Welcome to Scarborough.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Nice to have you. All right, folks, we've got 2 left. I think we can get these done. 3 left. What are we on? Oh, yeah, I skipped one here. This is the lot 2 one. All right. Action item 4.07, M&R Holdings and Goro Palmer on behalf of Crossroad Holdings LLC are requesting site plan review for the Innovation District, a Lot 2 out parcel, Assessors Map U53, a Lot 2. Helen, you want to give us a brief on this one?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is our third of 3 Innovation District submittals for tonight. This is a site plan submittal for a proposed restaurant or retail use in Lot 2, right adjacent to the Mariners. The purpose of this site plan submittal is mostly to demonstrate connectivity with the surrounding lots, especially the Mariners lot, including the proposed adjacent practice facility I'm reading. And I just wanted to flag that an amended site plan would be required as soon as a final user is determined for the site. So the user isn't yet determined, as I'm sure Drew will mention. So the amended site plan is a required part of the process. So this isn't sort of final say on the site. This is in the Crossroads Plan Development Zoning District, and the applicant is available for questions.
Thank you, Helen. And for the applicant.
Drew Gagnon with Goro Palmer, representing Crossroad Holdings LLC. Just to add to Helen's presentation, I'm just going to share my screen real quick. I just have a couple more points to add to that. As was mentioned, this is really just a site plan infrastructure request for an approval. You can see the building location has been located in this dashed line, but we don't have a building or end user set up for this project yet. I know the Downs team is working hard on that with this Mariners approval. So essentially, we're going to be coming back for a site plan amendment once there's actually a building and an end user to determine building elevations, floor plan, all that good stuff. So far, we've essentially just provided a parking lot with some additional sidewalk locations. And again, with the dumpster location, that would be part of when the building goes there. So kind of I'll call it an infrastructure site plan approval, really just complementing the Mariners site plan use. I'll mention the only town comment that we discussed at the DRC meeting was sidewalk connections. We had included a dashed line right here by my mouse connecting to the crosswalk on Paddock Way as a future sidewalk connection. Just didn't want to build it without having the building use known, because that could be an area for outdoor seating or something to that extent. So we just wanted to have that all coordinated when the building was known. The town's requested that the sidewalk get extended down Paddock Road to connect to the sidewalk by these 7 parking spaces. And the applicant's in agreeing with that. We would just request that that gets done with, again, when the building's known, when we come back for the site plan amendment. We can construct that sidewalk so that we can make sure the grades all match with whatever the finished floor of the building, and the use and programming can kind of all work together. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Drew. This item is available for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak? Step up. Anybody online? They've all gone to bed now, huh? Closing public comment and opening this up to the board. This seems like a make sense kind of a plan while you're doing the ice arena. Might as well get the site work and everything done now. And you're actually going to have the parking there. So I think it's a smart move to get this in the works while you're doing the site work. That's just my perspective, and I don't have any problems with this. Anybody else? No? Roger? Jen?
The question about whether or not there's any plan for, so let's say this is a restaurant use or retail, actually, no matter what it is. Presumably it's co-located because you think that it would be useful to be proximate to the hockey arena, but also presumably there would be a need and a want to delineate some of these parking spaces as being specific to this use, I would imagine, so that you don't have people fully filling up parking spaces and going to the game. So I'm just curious if there's been any thought about identifying by signage or otherwise, preserving some of those spots up closer to this use for its use in particular.
I think it'd be depending on the end user, when and if that would be known. It may make sense for that end user to do, parking for this specifically. I think at this time, it's intended to be a complementary use. So I think, that's something when we come back for a site plan
Yeah, sure.
amendment, we could discuss.
That's all I have.
All right, thanks, Jen. James? William? No. Go ahead, James.
I guess, with regard to the anticipated future sidewalk connection, you're holding off and putting it in until you determine, if it's gonna be a bar, restaurant, or a store?
Just whatever the building use may be, yeah.
I guess I guess if you put it in now, what's the downside of putting it in now?
The potential where, one, utility services are going to be stubbed into the lot, but we don't know where the mechanical room will go or where the transformer pad may go. So we want to be careful with really any of the finishes surrounding the building. So what we've done is just tried to show pretty much the bare minimum for just the parking lot to go in, and any of the accessory sidewalks and again, whether they go wherever the front door location is in, we want to make sure the sidewalk grade kind of matches and cohesive with that. So it's really just intended to complement the building, and we just want to make sure we do it right the first time. So
Yeah, no, that's a good answer, especially for trying to plan, have the most flexibility for putting utilities in there. I guess we as the town can't tell them not to do retail and tell them to put a restaurant in there, can we?
I could advise.
I can advise to say that a bar restaurant for people to go to before a game would probably be a gold mine in that location, rather than a store that sold jerseys, because you already have a pro shop inside the arena. I say fewer stores and more places for people to congregate, gather, especially before or after a game or scrimmage or whatever event's going on there. It is my strong suggestion.
Reminds me of the ground round by the one up in Augusta. You all set? James, you're all set then?
I am.
William, you're all set? All right, I'm all set too, yeah. Bingham's was pretty good. All right, I move to approve the project title Lot 2 Innovation District Out Parcel proposed by Crossroad Holdings LLC. The project is depicted in plan sets prepared by Goro Palmer dated 11/17/25. The application is approved with the following findings and conditions. Findings: the project will include construction of a restaurant retail use at Lot 2 of the Innovation District. When a specific use for the site is identified, amended site plan review and approval will be required by the planning board. The planning board finds the project meets the requirements of the site plan review and zoning ordinances with the following conditions. Condition 1, amend site plan review and approval is required by the planning board when a specific user for the site is identified and prior to any building construction. 2, the site plan approval includes all site work and parking with the exception of the building. Prior to the start of construction, the applicant shall schedule a pre-construction meeting. The meeting shall include appropriate town staff, the developer, and their site contractor, and is to be coordinated through the planning department. The below must be addressed prior to the scheduling of the pre-construction meeting. A, address staff comments in memo dated 12/15/25. B, address traffic comments in memo dated 12/3/25. C, address engineering comments in memo dated 12/2/25. D, add a minimum 5-foot buffer between the wetland boundary and the limit of work in order to ensure the constructability of the site can be achieved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jen. Doreen, would you take the roll?
Rick Meinston,
Yes.
Roger Beely,
Yes.
Jennifer Ladd,
Yes.
James Beaver,
Yes.
and Will Sedman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we've got 2 left. I think, and we have a half an hour. I think we can pound through this. The next one coming up is item 408. Sebago Technics, on behalf of Chamberlain Construction Incorporated, has requested a major site plan review for construction of 2 5-unit apartment buildings totaling 10 affordable housing unit, Dustin Affordable Housing, at 25 Stewart Drive, Assessors Map U30, Lot 2Y. Helen, want to give us a brief?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll keep it brief. So this is a site plan proposal for 2 5-unit apartment buildings, affordable units, on a 1.3 acre parcel in the Dunstan Crossing subdivision. It will require 10 rate of growth permits from the Area 2 allocation. Area 2 has 96 permits remaining prior to July of next year. It's in the VR2 district. And just for some brief background, these units were included in the final subdivision approval of the Dunstan Crossing subdivision in October of 2006. The subdivision has 6 phases total, and this is in phase 6. So there's been a lot of work that's been done since the original approval, and the applicant is available for questions.
Thanks, Helen. And for the applicant.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Orr, civil engineer with Sebago Technics. Here with Chamberlain Construction for, as mentioned, 10 rental affordable units within the Dunstan Crossing subdivision. The proposed project looks to bring 10 affordable units to the site. As mentioned, the location was originally set up for multifamily development. Utilities have been stubbed into the property for both water and sewer to accommodate multifamily development. And then the wet pond on the northeastern side of the property, as depicted on the site plan, will be used for the drainage from the parcel as well. This area was originally designed and intended to drain towards that wet pond. So through this project, we're proposing some collection basins and storm piping on this site to convey the storm water to that wet pond. The driveway connection will be, there's an existing curb cut already along Stewart Drive in this location. We're actually narrowing it down to meet the town standards, so it'll be applicable for this site. So pretty minimal as far as impacts to the existing infrastructure within the area. And yeah, I think that's about all for additional information. So happy to address any questions you all have.
Thank you very much. This item is available for public comment. Doesn't look like we have much of the public left. But anybody online? All right, we'll close public comment. I did want to mention, and it was my error, for the 3 projects that were reviewed, there was written comment received by Dennis and Warren Hamilton. And I didn't mention that, but you all received a copy of that prior to the meeting. And so I just wanted to make sure we put those into the record. Thank you. And there was one comment submitted from Victor and Vicky Rodriguez regarding this particular project. So that goes into the record as well. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the board, and I'm going to have Roger start it off.
Okay, thank you. What do I have, 15 minutes?
You've got approximately 3 minutes.
I just, basically, what I want to know is what's the status of the offsite, the intersection of Stewart and Route 1? Is that affected by this? Because, no?
Good evening, Elliot Chamberlain. We have been spending time acquiring rights for the piece of land because there was not enough right of way. Right now, we have a unwritten agreement and we're going to be using the winter months to put that into writing. We've been approved by the state DOT for the construction drawings. So once we acquire that small strip of land for the Route 1 expansion, I told Angela a month ago, we're probably looking at in this, sometime in the spring, early summer
So,
to build that out.
so staff did bring it up and we talked about it being a condition of even CO or building permit they were even comfortable with because they're moving forward at that pace, correct?
Yeah, well, obviously, we're hoping CO. Obviously, if we get approved for this tonight, we probably wouldn't even be starting till probably April or May, start digging. So it'd be the end of the year before we'd be looking for CO. And certainly at that point, Route 1 would be done.
And that's pretty typical with the CO is when traffic is generated. So
Mhm.
that's when it would be needed.
I know when we were talking about Dunstan Village, the additional building near Route 1.
Yes.
If I recall, you couldn't build that until you did.
No,
the improvements.
we still have 2 more buildings to go in Dunstan Village. So I don't know if we're at that number yet,
Okay.
but certainly, and the town is holding the cash for those funds.
Yeah,
As part of the deal, the 3-way deal between us, the town and DOT, that we posted the cash to build, to widen Route 1. And we've now acquired, we haven't acquired, but we've worked out a gentleman's agreement with the party involved for that small strip of land.
Okay, the last thing I'll ask is, why 10 affordable housing units and not workforce housing? Or does it matter to you?
That was the original agreement with the town, originally, that we acquired extra units, and I think it was 24 of them, as long as 10 of those 24 were affordable under the town's affordable housing program.
And it's not age restricted?
No.
Okay, all right, I'm all set.
Thanks, Roger. Jen?
I don't really have any questions.
Okay. Nothing? All right. Yeah, there will be, thanks for bringing that up, Roger. Looking in the motion here, we will have a stipulation on that.
You feel guilty about?
Not at all.
Okay.
I move to approve the project titled Dunstan Affordable Housing proposed by Chamberlain Construction Incorporated. The project is depicted in plan set prepared by Sebago Technics dated 11/17/25. The application is approved with the following findings and conditions. Findings: the project will include construction of two 5-unit apartment buildings totaling 10 affordable housing units, as well as the required parking, landscaping, and utilities located at 25 Stewart Drive. This project is part of the Dunstan Crossing subdivision. The planning board finds the project meets the requirements of the site plan review and zoning ordinances with the following conditions. Condition 1, prior to the start of construction, the applicant shall schedule a pre-construction meeting. The meeting shall include appropriate town staff, the developer, and their site contractor, and is to be coordinated through the planning department. The below must be addressed prior to the scheduling of the pre-construction meeting. A, address staff comments in memo dated 12/15/25. B, address traffic comments in memo dated 12/2/25. C, address engineering comments in memo dated 12/2/25. D, provide recorded deed restriction stipulating that the proposed units shall remain affordable for a period of at least 30 years prior to the submittal of the first building permit. The renter occupied affordable housing unit is a unit which is leased by a qualifying household at an annual gross rent that is less than or equal to 30% of the imputed income limitation applicable to the unit. I, qualifying household is one with a total household income that is, at the time of move-in, is 80% or less than the most recently published median family income for the Portland, Maine MSA, adjusted for family size as determined by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. To remain a qualifying household, the household income must remain at or below 140% of the income limitation described in the preceding sentence. And 2, annual gross rent shall equal 12 times the sum of the monthly rent due to the landlord. Any required monthly payments to the landlord for additional services or facilities and a reasonable estimate of the monthly utility cost, not including television, internet, or telephone, that the household is responsible for paying. In the case of a unit which has one or more bedrooms, the imputed income limitation used to determine the maximum annual gross rent shall be 80% of the MFI standard for households with a size equal to 1.5 people per bedroom. F, add a note to the site plan stating that the owner of renter-occupied affordable housing units shall be required to certify that the units continue to be occupied by qualifying households on an annual basis to the town manager. G, provide and record easement to allow pond maintenance from the neighboring parking lot prior to submittal of a first building permit. H, all off-site improvements required by the traffic movement permit shall be installed prior to the first certificate of occupancy. I, provide a performance guarantee for the cost of construction for off-site improvements. This shall be 150% of the estimated value of construction. J, provide the final and full plan set to the planning department. This shall include all site and civil plans, landscape plans, lighting plans, and architectural plans, renderings, and elevations. K, the applicant shall execute and record a stormwater maintenance agreement with the town. The form of the stormwater maintenance agreement is located in Appendix 1 of the Town of Scarborough, Chapter 419, Post-Construction Stormwater Infrastructure Management Ordinance. L, payment of the Chapter 419 Stormwater Maintenance Agreement and reporting fee total $750. M, payment of all review fees and invoices. This shall be reviewed by the planning department. Would you tag team with me?
2, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall pay impact fees totaling $13,990. 3, prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall A, submit evidence in the form of a letter or plan prepared and stamped by a professional engineer who either prepared the post-construction stormwater management plan and its associated facilities or supervise the plan and facilities construction and implementation. The letter or plan shall certify that the stormwater management facilities have been installed in accordance with the approved post-construction stormwater management plan and that they will function as intended by said plan. B, provide an as-built plan for the site. C, request an inspection by the planning department to ensure compliance with this planning board approval.
Do I have a second?
I have a point of order before the.
Sure.
I just want to make sure that we did acknowledge the public comment from the Rodriguez's.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Okay,
Yeah,
yep.
yep. Thank you.
Yep. And second.
All right. Well, thanks for the second. Doreen, would you take the roll?
McMurphy,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Jennifer Led,
Yes.
James Hebert,
Yes.
and Will Sedgwick.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we're on the last one. Good job. This is a sketch plan, I believe. Let's get to the agenda here. Action 4.09, Sebago Technics on behalf of Alpha Management is requesting sketch plan review, which involves the development of the site for a multi-use building, Oak Hill Multi-Use Building Development Project, 26 Adams Way, Assessors Map R58, Lot 32E. Helen, you want to give us a brief?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a sketch plan submittal for 26 Adams Way in the Oak Hill Shopping Center. There's an existing 5,600 square foot building that would be removed and replaced with a 6,350 square foot building containing 2 floors of office space and 2 floors of 1-bedroom apartments. This is in the TVC zoning district, and the applicant is available for questions.
Thanks, Helen. And for the applicant?
Hi, my name is Margot Barajas. I'm a landscape architect from Sebago Technics, and I'm here on behalf of Alpha Management for this mixed-use building at 26 Adams Way. As Helen mentioned, it's an approximately 6,300 square foot footprint, 4 stories, 2 stories of office and 2 stories of 1-bedroom apartments. Is everybody oriented to where we are in Oak Hill?
Yes.
There's the existing car wash right behind the proposed development. We're also proposing parking, landscaping, a seating area, bike racks, and other site amenities to go along with the development.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. I like the speed. This item is available for public comment. Anyone wishing, please step up. Do we have anybody still awake?
No.
All right, closing public comment, and I'll start this one off. I just, for my own clarification, I looked at the renderings and I just need to get it somewhat in my head, but I was looking at the renderings and it looks like the multi-use, the first and the fourth floor are the commercial, and then the 2 middle ones are apartments because of the way the windows line up and everything. Is that not the way it is? And it's the first 2 floors are commercial with the 3 and 4 being
Correct.
units.
Yeah, the first 2 floors are commercial office space and the
windows and everything just look so germane on the second and third floor. Why is that different on the 4th floor from the 3rd floor with the apartments?
I can't speak to all the architectural designs as they're still in progress, but Steve may have something to say.
Good evening. My name is Steve Berg from Alpha Management for Oak Hill Holdings, which is the property owner. As Margot said, the commercial originally was designed for the first floor was going to be commercial, and we're working with one of our existing tenants at Oak Hill, and they've requested actually they need more space, so that's why we internally we changed the plans. We haven't necessarily matched the windows up yet with that, but the intent is to have the commercial on the first 2 floors, the residential on the second and third floor. You'll see like the different brick ends of the building. One is a separate entrance for the commercial users, the one kind of coming in from the McDonald's side of the property. The residents would have their own entrance on the back side of the building, kind of on the post office side for orientation purposes, so separate entrances.
Okay, it gives me it makes sense when you explain it like that this may not be what it will actually look like with the.
Exactly. I mean, it'll be pretty close to what you're seeing here as far as the elements breaking it up. We didn't want a big, long building with no
Right,
breakups between
agreed.
it, so that's why you see.
And I think it complements the building that also is an apartment building within that whole area. I think this complements that nicely.
That's correct, yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Anybody else have any? Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, regarding the architectural renderings, this kind of reminds me of the other apartment buildings you have there, Steve.
Correct. We're trying to keep, the continuity together in the property. So we found, when we first put those, we have 8 apartments over there now, at 15 Plaza Drive. So as you're coming in off of Route 1, the second building in, the third building in now actually, that has commercial on the first floor. And then the second, that's a 3-story building that has commercial 4 apartments on the second and 4 on the fourth. And it's third floor, excuse me. And we found, the people who've been there, they like having that type of environment where they can walk. This truly is a town center where people can walk to the grocery store, they can walk to the post office, they can walk to the banks.
I think this is good because, I mean, you're obviously replacing a building that's.
Yeah, that's a
value building.
50-year-old metal warehouse building
Yeah.
that's gone through various, tenants over the years.
Yeah, so I think this will be a good addition right there, so, that's all I have.
Thanks, Roger. Anyone else? Go ahead, James.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is the existing tenant the dance studio? Are they going to be part of the new proposed building here?
No, they will not be.
Okay. I guess my concern for this area is it's really, really dense as far as trying to navigate through the space. I'm not necessarily opposed to this, but I think we need just to be careful about capacity for parking and circulation and just kind of general flow through there because Plaza Drive, Oak Hill Terrace, that it just gets really clustered. And once somebody doesn't park in the correct spot on the right side, it gets really jammed up pretty quickly. So I guess let's keep that in mind as we move forward with this and just really being cognizant of that. Thank you.
Thanks, James.
There we go. I am sort of to that end, and the points about the rest of this area being pretty walkable, which it actually is. And I like the nod to the, this says town, sort of like lowercase TC town center. It really kind of is. And like quietly. But anyway, so I think there is some good infrastructure here to tie into, and I'm just curious if there would be an opportunity to include some sort of crossing across Plaza Drive somewhere, either close to this proposed building, perhaps right where Adams Way intersects, or maybe by running a sidewalk up Plaza Drive and meeting and crossing over at the intersection of Oak Hill Terrace, where there is a some other crosswalks there already. But yeah, just trying to think about the difference between, maybe in plan view where we would like people to walk, and then where they might be, like if they're headed to Hannaford or sort of like points that direction. Just making sure that there's a connection for folks to do that.
We definitely are planning on looking into that more as we progress with the design.
Cool, great.
You have any questions for us?
Not particularly.
Then we'll see you again, I'm sure, and take notice of some of the comments that were made by our traffic reviewer and engineering, and continue to work with the staff. And I think we can get a project there.
Great.
Good luck.
Very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we did it. Good job. We have staff reports and minor development reviews. Looks blank.
None at this time.
How about administrative amendment report?
None.
All right, then we're into any correspondence?
None.
None. Planning board comments. I just want to say that, and she wasn't able to attend this meeting. We are bidding farewell to.
She did just text me and she said, I'll be around for January if I'm needed. It's been a great ride with wonderful folks.
All right, well, the sentiment is very kind of her, and I think we all share a deep sense of gratitude for all the work that she has done over the years for the town. And my second comment is, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. Spend it with family and friends and make memories. Anybody else? Jen?
I do actually have one comment going all the way back to the first project that we saw tonight, which was the Arby's at the Little Dolphin Marketplace. And it's early in their process anyway, so maybe this is more detailed, but for staff that will be going on to work with that applicant, I would be interested in them looking, I know they said that they were working on getting a transportation consultant on board. And I'm aware of some of the requirements that they will be needing to look at in terms of doing that, but I'm just curious if that will include, or we'll look to hear from them whether or not that includes any kind of signal warrant analysis where that parcel would come out onto Route 1. And that given what I know just sort of anecdotally about crash data in that area, there was a pedestrian fatality there several years ago that's likely to fall outside of the window of time that they're required to look in by DOT. But I just, for that person, I just feel like it's worth that this project look at maybe a 10-year, a 10-year span of pedestrian crash data instead of the 3 years the DOT requires. And that's largely in part due to the desire line that this proposed project would create across Route 1 with no otherwise safe crossing. So I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. You got that, Doreen? Anybody else?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you all.
Training me tonight.
Yeah, you hit the button quite a few times. Thank you all.